Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Open. It is Wednesday, January 15th. And folks, we have 10 minutes left until we get CPI. 10 minutes until we get CPI. This is going to be an important one. This is going to matter, even though I think the banks and the Wall Street firms already kind of already know what it's going to be. I think it'll come in at 2.9. Hopefully it comes in at 2.9 and not 3.0 because that 3 psychologically would just be tough to deal with. If it comes in at 2.8, it would be really nice. But 2.9 is what we're looking for. We have about 9 minutes now, 8 minutes until we get the CPI. I'm a little nervous, a little anxious, as we all should be, because it, when you have butterflies in your stomach, that means you actually care about it. So we're gonna see what it looks like and how much inflation increased in the United States of America year over year. However, we got the banks. We got the banks, folks, and the banks have crushed it. When I mean crushed it, I mean they have absolutely demolished earnings. So for the next 8 minutes before we get CPI, we're going to talk about the banks. I'm just going to read a couple of headlines on what the banks are looking like. Because these headlines are absolutely incredible. We all knew the banks would crush it because we're getting into the year of financials. We're going to hopefully have lower rates, but we already have lower rates than what we had in 2024. M&A, IPO, all that stuff is coming back. But the banks really crushed it. So here's some headlines to get into it. We'll go deeper into the bank earnings, but just some top line numbers before we get into CPI. Citibank announced a new 20 billion share buyback program. Crushing it. JP Morgan, EPS of 484, beating expectations of 411. That's a nice beat on JP Morgan. And then we've got revenue of 43.7 billion, beating expectations of 41.7 billion. That's not bad. So they beat on the top and the bottom line. Pretty much every bank that reported today beat on the top and the bottom line, which is very, very good. Goldman freaking Sachs. Take a look at their numbers, just on the top and the bottom line. EPS, they beat by $3.60. It is not often that a bank can beat by $3.60, or any company can beat earnings expectations by $3. Usually analysts projected, a couple cents away, 30 cents away, maybe $1 away. $3.60 is a hell of a beat. And then revenue, the market was expecting somewhere along the lines of 12.5 billion. JP Morgan said we're going to do 13.8 billion. Goldman Sachs beat revenue by 1.4 billion. Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Citibank, Morgan Stanley as well. All of the banks, as you can see in the pre-market, let's load them up right now. They beat very nicely. So Goldman Sachs right here is up 1.92%. Morgan Stanley is up 1.61%. JP Morgan is up 0.34%. You also had BlackRock that reported today. BlackRock beat earnings. They're up 3.56%. BlackRock now has a brand new number in terms of assets under management. And that number looks like it is, if I can pull this up right here, over 9 trillion, if I'm not wrong. Let me just get the exact number. But the point is they even, showed assets under custody growth, which is not easy to do at their level, but they continue to do it. So revenue, 5.68 billion. That's up 23% year over year. Again, that's a bank or, a financial institution like BlackRock. That's not easy to grow at compounding 20%. Adjusted EPS, that's up 23% year over year. Full quarter revenue up 14% year over year, full year 2024. And net income up 16% year over year. BlackRock did $6.61 billion in revenue. The actual ETF revenue was 142 billion, 4.23 trillion under management, and retail revenue is about 1.02 trillion, and AUM 4.65 billion in revenue. Institutional assets are 5.38 trillion. Institutional revenue is 53.4 billion. So when you add up the AUM on ETFs, retail, and institutional, 4 plus 5 plus 1, you basically get $10 trillion that these guys have under management, which is absolutely incredible for BlackRock. So, there you go. The banks crushed it. The banks absolutely crushed it. That's the first thing we needed. We got 5 minutes until CPI. So right now the market's up a lot in the pre-markets. Thank you everybody for being here. Good morning. Markets are looking good. Boeing's up. Shark Ninja's up. You got Nike that's up. Square is up. Tesla. We got some headlines on Tesla. The worst headline yesterday was that the SEC is suing Elon Musk. We'll talk more about that and Elon's response to the SEC suing him for his purchase of Twitter, which was 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, 5 days before the chair of the SEC leaves. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's like, goodness, they hate this guy so freaking much. But Tesla right here is up 1%. Rocket Lab's up 0.5%. Grab, new partnership with Grab today. Grab is going to be partnering with BYD to bring 50,000 electric vehicles all throughout the Philippines, the Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, a bunch of other Southeast countries. So that's a nice partnership for them. I don't really think that, it's going to make Grab go higher. I think the high dollar coming down is what's going to make Grab go higher, but it is a nice partnership to see. The dollar is slightly down today, 109.14. We were at 110 2 days ago. So it's nice to see that coming down a little bit, even if it's not down significantly. Let's check the 10-year before we get CPI data. The 10-year is at 4.76. It is down from 4.79, which is nice to see. If we get a good CPI, maybe that comes down much more. And quite frankly, for these equity pumps that we've been having to hold and not rug pull us like it did at 3 p.m. yesterday, we need to get that 10-year to come down. And the only way for that 10-year to come down is if CPI comes down. So that's going to be a very important number in the next 3 minutes. So if you're just joining, banks crushed it. We'll dive deeper into the bank earnings after CPI, but they absolutely crushed it. We have 3 minutes until CPI. These are the market expectations for CPI. The market's looking for about 2.9%. Now, the actual expectation, let me pull that up right here because this is what the banks are saying. The actual number that is forecast for CPI is 2.9. Yeah, it's 2.9. So if we come in at 2.9, we will be in line. If we come in below, we will beat. If we come in higher, I don't know if it's going to be too pretty. So here's the question. What number do you think it's going to be? What number do you think it's going to be? Put it in the chat. 2.9, 2.8, 2.7, 3.0. What do you think it is going to be? And then we're gonna see how this plays out. Jasmine, good morning. Jeremy, good morning. I'm Beneficial. What's up? Gurpal, Nick, good morning. Good morning. June, Midwest, Tess, Kevin, Amit, will Palantir pump to the moon today? Well, if we get a good CPI, it's definitely not going to hurt Palantir. So I don't know if it pumps to the moon, but if we get a 2.8, 2.7, that will be nice for Palantir. Emmanuel, what's up? Edmund, what's up? Sebastian, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for being here today. All right, I'm seeing a lot of 2.9s, a couple of 2.7s. Someone said 3.6. If we have 3.6, yeah, this is not going to be a fun market. I think it's 2.9. I'm going to be boring. I'm not going to make a fun prediction. 2.9 is like what most people are expecting. I'm going to say 2.9. I really hope it's below 2.9. I really hope it's not above 2.9, but we will find out very soon. All right, folks, here we go. Here we go. It is time. By the way, mortgage rates above 7% this morning. So we really need CPI to come down. Like, it's time, dude. We cannot have this thing keep going higher. We need CPI to come down in order for us to finally get some relief on the 10-year and then obviously on mortgage rates. Who the hell's buying a house with freaking mortgage rates above 7%? Like, it needs to come down. All right, here we go. We got about 45 seconds. These are the things you see on the screen. Core inflation year over year, month over month, and then the headline inflation month over month, year over year. I'm nervous. I'm so nervous. Oh my gosh. Oh boy. Wait a second. 2.9. 2.9. Oh, thank goodness. 2.9. All right, good. That's good. That's not horrible. 2.9. Inflation rate month over month, 0.4. That came in line with expectations. Core inflation, 3.2 versus 3.3. That's a beat. And then core inflation month over month, 0.2 versus 0.3. That's a beat. That is a beat. We came in lower on core on the monthly and the yearly. And on the headline, we came in within expectations at 2.9. That's not bad. Where's the market? Where is the market? Market. Are we up? Oh, we're up. Where's the S&P? S&P is up. Wow. S&P's up 1%, 588, trying to hit 590. Where is Tessie? Tesla's at 408. Whoa. Holy crap. That's a hell of a move. 3%. That is not bad. Shopify's up 2%. Kava's up 0.5%. Google's up 1.55%. Celsius is up 1%. Where is Hoodie? Hoodie is up 2.9%. 43, back to where it was yesterday. Now we'll see at 9:30 kind of how it plays out, but overall, not too bad for these first couple names or the first couple minutes as we get into CPI. Palantir is up 3%. Palantir, Tesla, and Hood, all of them are up 3% in the pre-markets. BlackRock up 4%, JP Morgan up 1%, Morgan Stanley up 2%, Goldman Sachs up 3%. Let's check on the Mag 7. Mag 7, Apple's up 1%, Microsoft's up 1%, Meta's up 2%, Google's up 2%, Amazon's up 2%, Nvidia is up 1.7%, Tesla is up 3.4%. Bitcoin, where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin's 98. Whoa, that's a candle. That's a hell of a candle. That's a nice candle. 10 years down, dude, there's so many things to check. Oh my God, thank goodness. The 10 years actually falling. The 10 years actually kind of falling. It's not below 4.7 yet, but it was at 4.79 at 5:30 today. Now it's at 4.71. That's good. This is good. This is not bearish. This is good. No one can say this is bad. I mean, the market can have whatever thoughts they want about this, but so far they're saying, okay, so CPI came in line with expectations. It's increasing, but not more than what we thought. It's not runaway inflation that's going to the moon. It's actually lower on the core year over year and month over month, and it's in line on the headline year over year with 2.9, which was what is expected. On the monthly, 0.4. That's what we got, 0.4. Not bad. Not bad at all. Dixie, where's Dixie? Dixie is dropping a little bit. Got a little bit of a drop on Dixie. Nothing too crazy, but we do have somewhat of a drop. All right, let's get some coverage on this. Then we're going to dive deeper into the CPI numbers, and then we'll keep going from there. If you're just joining, it's a pretty decent CPI beat on the monthly and yearly on core, and then in line with expectations on the monthly and yearly on headline.
Actually, anybody out there watching that isn't an economist, they feel the pressure of rising prices, and it's a pressure that very much never seems to ease off. We don't normally see a lot of negative numbers. And speaking of negative numbers, there's one I haven't pointed out yet. Empire was also out. January number, kind of real time, minus 12.6. Minus 12.6 would be the weakest going back to minus 15 and change in May of last year. So we still see that manufacturing is a bit curtailed. Interest rates moving significantly lower here, significantly lower. Maybe it was the month over month core. Maybe it's the fact that we came in as or a little light on expectations, what the market prepared for. But like yesterday, we want to watch the secondary and tertiary responses as we get closer to the opening of equities, because it may be a very short-lived rally pushing yields down. And I do want to point out that we have traded slightly on an intraday basis above 480 in a 10. We touched 5% yesterday briefly in a 30, and the dollar index, well, even though it isn't monetized now on Monday, it was at a 26-month high close. Becky, back to you.
Okay, Rick, stay right there. A lot of analysis. We need more from you, but we also want to bring in the rest of our panel. Priya Misra, who is fixed income portfolio manager at JP Morgan Asset Management. Our very own senior economics reporter, Steve Leisman, and Peter Bookvar, who is chief investment officer at Bleakley Advisory Group, also a CNBC contributor. Steve, why don't you walk us through what you are seeing as you dig down into these numbers?
Well, it's a good number. I think it's important. Actually, Rick was using a different consensus, 0.4. We had 0.3 from the Dow Jones consensus. I'm not sure which one Rick is using.
On the headline, month over month.
On the headline. But the important thing is we both agree the core was lower than expected.
SoFi's up 5%. They have earnings in 2 weeks. My goodness. SoFi 15.3%. They're up 6%. Absolutely incredible for SoFi. Robinhood's up 4.69%, 43.74. I am just hoping this can last another hour going into the market open. Robinhood is at basically a 52-week high. I don't think we've ever seen 43.70 even in 2024. Bitcoin's at 98.3, Palantir's at 68.2, Tesla's at 411, and the S&P 500 is at 590. Folks, this is not a bad CPI report.
At 0.2, and it looks okay. It doesn't look, like I said earlier in the last hour, the PPI downside surprise took some of the edge off an upside surprise today, and I think that came to pass. The big number, the number that both of our guests asked before right away, was the owner's equivalent rent number. That was up 0.3. We were doing 0.5, 0.6s, big numbers there. Now it's more contained, a 0.3 after a 0.2. You did have apparel was well contained. New vehicles up 0.5, used cars up 1.5%. That helped it. But take a look at Commodities, let's do services less energy. That was up 0.3%. So not terrific. You need to do 0.2s to get to 2%. But Becky, we'll take it. It's a good number. You can see how concerned the market has been with this possibility that inflation was going to get out of control. So this now sort of says, all right, the Fed can be on hold, but we don't have to talk about this thing that Joe likes to talk about, which is what, the idea of hiking rates.
We're now looking at the 10-year falling below 4.7%, 4.69.
And while you talk to the other guests, I'll update the probabilities on what.
Holy crap. The 10-year is below 4.7. Oh my goodness. That's how you know the bond market likes it. That's how you know the bond market likes it. They're buying up that yield or they're buying up that bond to lock in that yield because they don't think, at least today, that yield is going higher. And you're getting some activity in the bond market. Wow, 4.694. If that bad boy comes down to 4.6 or maybe 4.55 by the end of the week, that is not going to be bad for equities. That's really not going to be bad for equities. Maybe we don't have to delay the rate cut all the way until October.
What the outlook is for the Fed and how that's changed. I
Yeah,
got to do the math.
Priya, I would say that, look, the Dow's now indicated to open up 600 points, but that's going tick by tick with the treasuries. You focus on the treasuries market, on fixed income. What do you think of what we just heard? Is this the right reaction based on these numbers?
Absolutely. I think we were in the danger zone. As the 10-year got closer to 4.75, 5%, I think it's a danger zone for the economy because there are interest-sensitive sectors. Look at the mortgage market or the housing market. Look at other interest-sensitive sectors. We're also in the danger zone for risk assets because, cost of capital that high, you're going to get more dispersion. You're going to have impact on multiples. I think this is a good number. It's a sigh of relief for the bond market as well as the equity market, risk assets in general, because it takes that Fed hike. I think, we priced out a lot of the Fed cuts in the last few months. And now there was talk, well, if inflation's moving up and the big question still remains, what are we going to get from the administration? I would argue there's a market constraint, there's a political constraint. I don't think you're going to get that much, but I also think that that's behind in the market's mind. Are we going to?
She's right. We needed this number. We really needed this number. Let's go to the BLS. Let's get the actual release that they put out here today. And let's go a little bit more deeper into this, but that's not Mrs. Kukraja, dude. You guys are crazy, bro. All right, here we go. CPI index so let's get through some specifics. Index for energy rose 2.6% in December, accounting for over 40% of the monthly all items increase. Wow. So this time, guys, holy crap, this is bullish. Holy crap. This time it's not shelter. It's not shelter. Every time we read one of these things, it's shelter. It's always the index for shelter rose, which is accounting for over 40%. This time it's energy. And if it's not shelter as the headline justification for the increase in CPI from 2.8 to 2.9, then that means shelter theoretically is coming down. And if energy comes down, I know energy has been going up because of everything that's been going on with the Russia sanctions and in general, Europe struggling. But if that can come down over the next 6 months, and shelter comes down, inflation's coming down. It's absolutely coming down. The gasoline index increased 4.4% over the month. The index for food also increased in December, rising 0.3%, as both the index for food at home and the index for food away from home increased 0.3%. The index for all items less food and energy rose 0.2% in December after increasing 0.3%. December included shelter, airline, used cars and trucks, new vehicles, motor vehicle insurance, and medical care. So the usual suspects that increased in December. However, the reasoning for 40% of the increase, the majority of the increase, was not shelter, was not airline, was not used cars. It was energy. And if that one comes down along with the other suspects, then maybe we will get inflation actually coming down pretty aggressively. So energy was the main thing. Medical care increased 0.1% month over month. Airline fares up 3.9% in December. Kind of makes sense. You had some more traveling. The index for all items in less food and energy rose 3.2%. Motor vehicle insurance, that thing needs to come down as well. Hopefully it does, but that's why the 0% APR from Tesla deal was so good in November, because cars are getting a bit more expensive. And then the index for personal care also came down. The index for communication and alcoholic beverages declined month over month. So alcohol came down, communication came down, shelter, energy, and airline fares, along with recreational products, went up, and motor vehicle insurance. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Oh my gosh. Is Robinhood about to hit 44? Is it actually going to Wow, 43.85. Goodness gracious. That's up 5%. Tesla's up 4%, 3.5%, 410. S&P 590. SoFi 5.3%. It's looking like the dip at $13 or $13.50 on SoFi was a great dip. Grab is up 2% on this, 1.86%. The dollar's not coming down as much, but the 10-year's coming down a little bit more. Meta's up 2%. Uber's up 2%. Amazon is up 2%. Oracle's up 2%. Snapchat's up 3%. Rivian's up 3.6%. TSLL is up 6.4%. MSTR is up 4%. Where is Bitcoin? Bitcoin 98.4. It's not really giving away too much of its pump right here. If this can continue, maybe we see a little bit more momentum into the 100,000 range, hopefully later this year. Not bad. Not bad at all. This is a hell of a market open as we get into 9:30. So let's ask the poll, which is the right thing to do right here based on how we're seeing people think of this. Do you think this is a rug pull? That's the question. Do you think this lasts at 9:30, or do you think people take their sweet, juicy profits and get the hell out? Is it a rug pull? By 9:30, can we keep Robinhood at 44? Can we keep Bitcoin at 98? Can we keep Palantir at $68? Can we keep NVIDIA at 135? Can we keep SoFi at 1530? SoFi was there 2 weeks ago at 1530. Theoretically, this shouldn't be that hard to maintain, especially after I got an upgrade yesterday for $18 by Citibank. But can it stay there? Rocket Lab as well. Great day for Rocket Lab. Did anyone watch the Blue Origin thing last night? Was it good? Rocket Lab up 5%. Did Blue Origin actually get the launch to be successful? Because I did not get a chance to watch it. Rocket Lab up 6%. Yes. Where's Farcoin? Yeah, let's take a look at Farcoin. Farcoin's down 2%, bro. This is bullish. This is so bullish. Because that means, never mind. It just updated. It's up 5%. Never mind. That's bearish. Because if Farcoin comes down, that means money's going into the shit that deserves to get the money. Not Farcoin, but Farcoin's up. It's going to pump with everything. As soon as Farcoin goes down and Tesla goes up, that's how you know, all right, we're getting some of the froth out of the market. But so far, it's still there. 61% say no, it's not a rug pull. Well, we will find out in about 45 minutes how bad this thing ends up becoming, or if it keeps going. Dude, if we get a real rally today, a real rally means we keep these prices until market close, and then Friday, which Friday is going to be a very important day. Friday is January 17th. Friday is one of those days where you are going to have hundreds of billions of dollars in options expire. Why? Because in 2023, one of the only leaps that was available was January 17th, 2025. I know this because I was buying Robinhood leaps at the time, and the only leap, one of the only leaps, there was like a couple other dates, but one of the main dates that was available for 2025, if you wanted to go 18 months out, was January 17th, 2025. So there are a lot of options expiring on Friday that might create some wonky stuff that's going on in the options market, which could affect equities. But if we can hold these levels, maybe we can withstand that as well. Robinhood right here, 43.85, Palantir 68.28. All the banks, for those that are just joining, all of the banks crushed it. And when I mean crushed it, they absolutely smashed earnings. JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, BlackRock, all of these guys absolutely crushed the numbers they needed to crush, raised the dividend, increasing the buybacks, all of the stuff you want to see from banks. They were able to do it. Let's get a couple updates right here on some of the banks. But they did what they had to do. CPI had to do. And now we just need tech to do what they have to do as we get into earnings over the next 2 weeks. Here is Citigroup.
Earnings, I guess, right?
Yeah, go ahead. And Leslie Picker has those numbers. Leslie?
Hey,
wait, hold on. Citi's going to have to wait. Is Robinhood above 44? Is it actually above 44? Is it above? Oh my God, it's above 44. Holy crap. I don't want to get too excited, bro. I don't want to get too excited because 9:30 is a long time away. I don't want to get too excited, but congrats, guys. Congrats. We got 44 on the hood. Again, I don't want to get too excited. We got a major upgrade yesterday by Morgan Stanley. I wrote about it last night on Twitter. $55 added them to their financial top picks. So they're gearing up for almost $1 billion of revenue in the fourth quarter. I think they're going to do well, but we got to see if they can maintain all this momentum as we get into the market open.
Becky, that's right. It's a beaten on the top and bottom lines in the quarter for Citi. But the notable news for the street is Citi's reduction in its profitability targets, which are seen as a key metric by which to measure the firm's turnaround efforts. For the last few years, Citi had been targeting between 11 and 12% on return on tangible common equity. And today they are reducing that range to 10 to 11% by 2026. That's still higher than the street expectation, the street average. And the fourth quarter ROTCE figure was just over 6%. CEO Jane Fraser saying in the release that the reduction in ROTCE targets allows them to make, quote, additional investments in our business and transformation. And the, quote, level is a waypoint, not a destination. We intend to improve returns well above that level and deliver Citi's full potential for our shareholders.
I mean, that quote alone, we plan to deliver our full potential for our shareholders alone. Like that entire idea feels bullish going into 2025. And the fact that they're actually doing a $20 billion buyback as well, which I don't think she mentioned, but that was another headline, means they have money that they feel comfortable giving back to shareholders by buying back their stock because they know that their earnings are good. Here is Goldman Sachs.
With its results, Leslie Picker's been going through those numbers. She's going to bring them to us right now. Leslie, what you got?
Hey, Andrew, those shares higher on these results as well. A very big beat on the bottom line, beating by about $3.73 per share, coming in at $11.95 per share in the quarter. That's about 45% higher than estimates. On the revenue side, that was also a beat.
40% higher than estimates on EPS. Like, bro, it's not a joke. These aren't made up numbers. These are real. And the market cannot ignore that the banks are starting off good earnings. Now, imagine if tech companies, particularly the Max 7, also have these types of numbers. They're probably not going to beat by 40%, but if they even beat by 10, 15% at their scale, you know, the market's definitely going to say, all right, we can't really deny some of these earnings that we're getting right now.
Coming in at $13.87 billion, which was about 23% higher year over year. Return on equity annualized for Q came in at 14.6% for Goldman Sachs. In terms of the individual drivers for that top line there, the top line growth, you got to pin it on what we're seeing with sales and trading. FICC and equities each higher by more than 32% in the quarter. FICC deriving $2.74 billion. That's fixed income, currencies, and commodities, whereas equity came in at $3.45 billion for the quarter.
Absolutely incredible by Goldman Sachs. So obviously you can see the banks are running. We also had Morgan Stanley, BlackRock. We'll listen to BlackRock CEO in a little bit because he was on CNBC. But all of them, the story of the day is that they crushed earnings. And that's why SoFi, which is a much smaller bank than those bigger banks, is up 7% because they're growing faster than those big banks. And if those big banks are crushing it, I mean, this makes sense for SoFi. This makes, like, if JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, et cetera, crushed it, and SoFi, which is, we know, growing faster than those big banks, they should absolutely smash Q4. And maybe SoFi's on its way to $20. I mean, maybe it's time. SoFi right here up 6.3%, 15.41. NVIDIA's up 1.8%. Bitcoin, 99,000. We went from 96 to 99,000 right here on Bitcoin. Palantir as well, up 4.6% right here, 68.97. It looks like it'll crack 69. It got rejected at 68.23 yesterday, 2 cents away in the pre-market from cracking 69. Let's see if it can get above that level. There you go, 69 right there. It's teetering from 69 to 68.98, but right there, 4.65% on Palantir. Robinhood, $44.08, up 5.56%. Absolutely incredible. The S&P 500, 591. S&P was at 575 on Monday. So talk about a nice reversal here based on this data. Morgan Stanley, 3%. Goldman Sachs, up 4%. JP Morgan, up 2%. BlackRock, up 5.3%. Grab is up 2%. Warner Brothers Discovery is up 4%. SoFi CEO Anthony Noto is joining the board of directors of Warner Brothers Discovery. I don't really understand that move that well. I'm assuming there's some type of partnership he thinks is possible between WBD and SoFi. I know WBD and Citibank have like a credit card together. So maybe, I think this is more, I don't think he wants to join the board. I think there's something strategic here for SoFi. I just don't know what it is yet, but seems like that will be something we figure out over the next couple months. Amazon right here up 2%. Oracle's up 2%. Snapchat's up 3%. MicroStrategy up 4.7%. Lyft is up 3%. DJT is up 2.8%. Apple's up 1%. And then Rocket Lab right here up 3.48%. Tesla as well, 3.5 back to 410 on Tessie. Not bad. Not bad at all. Yes, there is a credit card thing with SoFi and Citibank and Warner Bros. Discovery. So I think that might be the reason he is joining their board as well. Did I say teetering wrong? It's teetering, not teetering. Okay, well, you guys know. If you're new here, you know I don't know how to say words. So there you go. There you go. Archer's up 6%. Okay, that's amazing. So let's look at the spec plays. Okay, so we have an update on Quantum. Let's talk a little bit about Quantum real quick, and then we'll get into all the headlines we have to get into for this morning. So spec plays are all up a lot. Archer's up 5%, SoundHound up 5%, Faraday Future up 2%, Big Bear up 6%, MicroStrategy up 5%, GameStop, AMC up 3 and 4%, Oaklow's up 5%, Color's up 8%. But then you get to Quantum, QUBT's up 17%, Rigetti's up 16%, IONQ's up 9%, and then D-Wave is up 26%. Now, why are the Quantum names up basically, call it 20% on average this morning? Well, remember that guy who said Quantum's 20 years away? Well, NVIDIA is hosting its first Quantum Day on March 20th, 2025. Executives from companies like Rigetti, D-Wave, and IONQ are going to participate. Jensen Huang is going to host discussions with industry leaders, and sessions will explore current and future quantum computing capabilities and technologies. So, I mean, look, either Jensen, I don't think Jensen was intentionally trying to tank those stocks, by the way. I think he was giving a genuine answer, which was like, hey, I think it's far away. But, I mean, if it's that far away, why host a Quantum Day on March 20th, 2025, which last time I checked, it's not 20 years away. It's like less than 2 months away. And maybe he still believes the technology is 20 years away. But, I mean, if you're hosting not an investor day, but like a quantum trading day that quickly, then maybe the technology is going to be sooner than later. Again, we're going to have to find out kind of how this plays out. But the quantum names are running off those headlines. Obviously, are these names, trading at pretty elevated multiples? Probably, right? QUBT is trading at a 1,500 price of sales. Rigetti's at a 76. IONQ's at a 360. D-Wave's at a 76 times price of sales, and none of them are profitable. However, if you're buying these names, you're not buying them for earnings. You're buying them for potential. And so at least those who bought the dip on the potential, Jensen and Microsoft yesterday, Microsoft said that they are interested in exploring the future of quantum computing. They put out that press release yesterday. You put those two together, along with the fact that these names were down 80%, you're going to get some people to buy the dip. And as a result, we are seeing some of that momentum in the pre-markets with the quantum names. And then if CPI comes in lower than expected, which gets the market to be a little bit more risk on, then yeah, some of those risk on names are going to get some love. And that's what we're seeing right now as we get into the market open. Coinbase right here is up 4%. Bitcoin just below 99. CleanSpark's up 5%. Marathon's up 4%. Hut 8 Mining's up 5%. MSTR is up 4%. Hood's up 5.3%. And BitX, 2x leverage Bitcoin, is up 5.25% currently right now. Kris CRM says Quantum will be 20 years away until it's only 3 to 4 years away. Microsoft is repositioning for Quantum. I'm light in Quantum and might buy up over the next few years. Right now, focusing on software. Yeah, that's fair. Look, 20 years away might turn into 5 years away, or it might turn into 25 years away. It really depends on how much progress is made in the industry. But if you're investing in it, then you do believe it is hopefully sooner than later, or you at least want to be there regardless of when it happens. And that's probably why some people are buying these names. Let's look at the semis. The semis are all green as well. There's not a single semi that's red. Intel, SMCI, AMD, NVIDIA. AMD and NVIDIA both up 1.5%. Dell's up 2%. ARM's up 2%. Marvell's up 2.5%. Taiwan Semi's up 0.5%. Qualcomm's up 2%. Broadcom's up 2%. ASML's up 1/3%. ON is up 2.5%. And Intel is up 1.6%. The semis are enjoying it. The NASDAQ, the QQQ, is up 1.71%. And the S&P 500, 1.5 at 590. Not bad. Not bad at all. 62% of you guys think we're not going to get a rug pull. 38% think we are going to get a rug pull. We have about 35 minutes until we see if we actually do get this rug pull. CPI is not out tomorrow. CPI is out right now. And for those that missed it, CPI came in at 2.9%, in line with expectations. That's what the market wanted to see. And the core inflation rate came in at 3.2% versus 3.3%. That is also what the market wanted to see. So look, that doesn't mean inflation is not increasing. Inflation is increasing. It's just increasing slower than what all the bears think it's increasing at, which is like, some exponential increase that is unsustainable. And that's not happening, at least not on December CPI. It is much more in line with how the market thought it would be. Also, sentiment was horrible, bro. Sentiment, like going into the CPI, even after the PPI pump and that got faded at like 3 o'clock last night, sentiment was like, all right, inflation's back. The 10 years never coming down, yada, yada. So we had really good sentiment decline. Wow, the 10 years at 4.68 in order to have this type of a pump, because you need sentiment to be at really bad levels, right? In order for us to get a really big move. And I would say last night it was. I would say last night, especially at 3 p.m., it was. The dollar is, wow, the dollar's below 109. The dollar was at 110 on Monday. It's at 108. And the 10-year was at 4.8. Forget yesterday, at 5:30 this morning. Now it's at 4.68. Palantir's at 69. Dude, this is not bad. This is not. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get the nuance here of like, why is this bad? What are we missing? Outside of a rug pull algorithmically, why would the market sell off their Palantir or their hood to get into the 10-year on this, right? Or why would they sell the 10-year when they know that the 10-year is coming down and they want to lock in a yield? I mean, we're still at fear on the fear and greed as well at 27. We were at extreme fear, I think, for a little bit yesterday. And now we're at fear. Is Palantir trying to go back to 70? Is it actually trying to go back to 70? Palantir is at 69.06. We hit 69.12. The only fear I have, guys, is can this really last when the floodgates open at 9:30? Because, I mean, historically, CPI tends to be a sell the news. It then recovers pretty quickly, like either in intraday or within the next couple of days. But CPI pumps tend to get faded. Like we've seen this time and time again. So it gets really excited in the pre-market, and then the market opens and people use it as exit liquidity, essentially. If that even happens, I don't think that's a big deal because it's, we got a long year coming up for us. So if that happens, it's whatever. The point is, honestly, even if stocks were down right now, I wouldn't care because we want to see the numbers go in the right direction when it comes to inflation. And as long as the numbers are in the right direction, the stock market will do whatever it wants to do. It'll eventually get to the point where it corrects itself and matches expectations accordingly. But we needed CPI to be good, and CPI was good. That's what we needed, and it looks like that's what we got. So I think we do have to wait until the potential rug pull, if it happens or if it doesn't happen, but it's still very, very nice to see these numbers coming out. I mean, look, the worst thing we could have got is freaking 3% on inflation, right? Could you imagine it was like 3%? Like that would be horrible, or 3.1%. Like it just wouldn't be a good situation. And so the fact that it came in lower is not too bad. Let's get a little bit more coverage on CPI, and then we'll get to the headlines of yesterday night, which do have some implications for stocks today. Oh, XRP, yeah. Congrats to anyone in this and Steve. I mean, XRP doing its thing. So 286. XRP was projected yesterday in a JPM report to get $8 billion of ETF inflows along with Solana. So if the XRP ETF does happen like the Bitcoin ETF, that could be another catalyst for XRP.
Can you bet on it?
So on the good side, we've already seen all the disinflation that we wanted to see. In fact, around zero year over year was really the pre-COVID trend on the good side. The services side was really what was keeping overall inflation elevated. And I do expect that to further decelerate as lower rents work its way through the number. I think the key question, though, is there's one thing to have a spike in inflation, the deceleration. There's another thing to keep inflation down. It's the sustainability of keeping inflation lower that still remains to be seen, because we got a good inflation number. It's still kind of sideways around this 3-ish level, which is still quite different from the 1 to 2% trend that we saw pre-COVID. And then that flows through having interest rates higher for longer. And the interest rate move is not just a US thing, it is a global thing. And one of the good setups into the US CPI number was a less than expected UK CPI number that took some of the heat off the gilt market, which was a good setup for a rally in treasuries today.
And he's right about that. I forgot to mention in the UK market, to all my folks out there in the United Kingdom, which hopefully I am going to be visiting in the summer. A lot of you guys are there. I want to visit the United Kingdom. It'll be fun. Inflation's down in the UK. UK inflation slows in December. Headline CPI 2.5% versus 2.6 expected. Core 3.2 versus 3.4 expected. Lowest since September 2024. lowest in the past 4 months. Services inflation dropped to 4.4% year over year versus 4.8% expected, the lowest since March of 2022. So you're getting the UK to show that their inflation is going down. The United States inflation is going down. As long as we see this across the entire world in the more developed economies, then this is great news for inflation globally, and obviously great news for equities as they need global inflation to slow down in order to continue going higher. So it's not bad. Not bad at all. We are starting to get a little bit more momentum in the CPI market, or in the inflation market. Now, again, January has been a little different than December. Energy has gone up a decent amount in January. So January CPI numbers are going to be very interesting. We have about 15 days left of January to see how this plays out. But as long as we stay in this trend, or even if we go up according to market expectations, if not come down, then this might be a sustainable path to getting inflation to come down. It's funny because, again, on Friday, Bank of America said we see no rate cuts coming in 2025, and off of some number, like off the jobs data that came out. And it's like, are they going to change their tone now that we have CPI that looks pretty decent? Because, like, I don't know how you can assume 0 rate cuts off of a labor market when inflation is at least stabilizing. So I think it's going to be tough to just decide on 1 or 2 metrics. Even this CPI, we have, more to see over the next coming months if CPI is sustainable enough to keep going down. But still, to make a definitive claim that we are getting no rate cuts because of 1 or 2 metrics, it feels very deja vu to 2024, where we thought we were going to get cuts. We had about 5 months of sticky inflation and everyone wrote off the cuts. And then by May, it looked like inflation was falling off a cliff. By April, by September, we knew it was falling off a cliff, and then we cut by 50 bips. And then we ended up getting a lot more cuts towards the end of the year. Maybe the same thing happens in 2025. Okay, cool. So let's get into the headlines of last night. We do have a bunch of other stuff to get into, but that was CPI. The banks crushed earnings, and we'll cover more of that as we get into the market open. But we do have some headlines from last night that I think are pretty important. So let's talk about Tesla. And in particular, let's talk about the headline from last night. So the Biden administration, or the Biden SEC, because it will be a new SEC soon, is suing Tesla, or suing Elon Musk in federal court. They are suing him 5 days before before Gary Gensler retires. So it is a little bit odd timing. And the logic behind why they're suing him is because the agency alleges that in 2022, Musk failed to disclose his ownership stake in Twitter and purchased shares at artificially low prices, violating security regulations. The most ironic thing about this, is that let's say the SEC is right. Let's say that Elon, which I think he bought 5 to 7%, let's just say it's 10%, 10% of Twitter when he had to disclose the 13D in April of 2022 at a low price. Let's just assume that's the case, right? He then had to buy the whole freaking company for $44 billion. So he got 10% of it at a discount. Let's say he got it at, I don't know, 37 billion, whatever, 35 billion, even 30 billion. 90% of the rest of the company he had to buy at a very aggressive price, because we all know that Twitter is probably not worth 44 billion, and it definitely wasn't worth 44 billion when they barely had any new features in 2022. So the irony of this lawsuit is that they're saying, hey, he failed to disclose his holdings, and therefore he got to buy in cheaper, which is illegal. But then legally, Delaware forced them to buy it way higher. So although the SEC may be technically correct, the spirit of this lawsuit is absolute garbage, because he had to buy it at an extremely overvalued valuation. And it's now they're suing him 5 days before he has to leave. Bitcoin right here at 99,000.2. Wow, Robinhood up 6%, 44.35. Holy crap. Robinhood's just not slowing down at all. So this is why it's just hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious what this lawsuit looks like. Do I think this lawsuit is going to have any big impact? Not really. I think eventually Trump's going to get in, and day one, Trump's going to be like, can we get rid of that lawsuit? We're not going to investigate Elon Musk. So I think that's hilarious. On top of this trend that Trump's probably going to get rid of it, here's another headline that broke yesterday, which was a little bit more of a fun headline. So the first headline we saw was that the SEC is going to be suing Elon. The second headline Elon Musk reportedly set to have office space in the White House. Elon Musk is going to have an office in the White House because he's probably going to be there pretty often because he's best buds with the most powerful man in the world, Donald Trump now, who's going to be the president of the United States. And so the irony of the SEC, in this case, the Biden SEC, deciding to sue him, and then in a week, he's going to have a space in the White House where he could tap anyone on the shoulder that he wants to probably get rid of this lawsuit. I mean, it's just hilarious. It means like it's probably happening for show. Tesla's obviously not being affected by it right now because Tesla, is going higher because of CPI, but also the market probably doesn't care too much about it. But it's really hilarious to see how this is playing out. On top of that, in terms of what's happening with Trump and the inauguration, Mark Zuckerberg is going to be hosting a Trump inaugural bash. Zuckerberg is going to be on January 20th hosting an elite reception lineup before Trump's inaugural ball. So this is part of the reasons why Zuckerberg gave $1 million to the inaugural fund, probably because he's funding this as well. But from 6:30 to 10 p.m. At the White House, there is going to be a inauguration ball, and before that ball happens, or during that ball, Zuckerberg's going to be hosting sort of the pre-party that's going to be happening there. As you can see right here, this is the official invite from the White House, and you can see right there Mark Zuckerberg's name right there at the top. What's happening in the United States of America is there's two angles. Either you think the billionaires are taking over and you hate that because of whatever reason you have against sort of billionaires having influence in the White House and politics and business, yada yada, or you have another perspective, which I fall into this perspective, and maybe it's wrong, maybe it's not. We'll see how it plays out over the next 4 years. The other perspective is the billionaires are taking over the White House, and I'd rather have the billionaires that have actually built products and services taking over the White House versus people that have never built a single thing in their life and that just want to complain and take away as much from the actual entrepreneurs and innovators. Those are the two things that are happening. And maybe there's some nuance between them. And I know definitely a lot of people in the chat probably think the first part is happening and they're not comfortable with that. I get it. But I do think that's what we're seeing right now in the United States. Elon, Zucks, Bezos, all these people are saying, you know what, we've got to work with this administration, but we kind of want to work with this administration because this administration is showing the willingness to actually uplift business. And here's sort of the bottom line for me, and this is where my perspective gets kind of black or white. We are $36 trillion in debt. The only way to get out of that debt is not to tax the world, is not to tax all of American citizens, not to take away 90% of Bill Gates' wealth. It's to grow. It's to grow. We got to grow. And the only way to grow is for us to have a pro-business administration. And so if the billionaires are embracing that because they know this debt is unsustainable, you're not going to be able to have a Tesla or a Palantir or an Amazon if the United States is $100 trillion in debt. Like, at some point, we have to resolve this. Our kids' are going to be screwed if we don't even try to resolve it. If the billionaires have to get involved, then maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. Maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. Very, yes, libertarian vibes for real. And there's nuances to it. I'm not saying I'm 1,000% correct. I'm just saying bottom line, if we got to grow and the White House needs a pro-growth administration, then maybe that's the cost of being able to get to grow. Tesla right here up 3.6%. BlackRock up 5.3%. JP Morgan up 1.8%. Speaking of billionaires, let's take a listen to one of the other most powerful men in the world, Larry Fink, and what he's saying in terms of infrastructure spending, ETF allocations, and overall assets that BlackRock is currently able to get under management. BlackRock crushing earnings up 6%, now $9 trillion under management for BlackRock.
The fourth quarter results earlier this morning, the world's largest asset manager now overseeing $11.6 trillion.
My bad, not 9 trillion, 11.6 trillion.
That's with a T, under management, beating on the top and bottom lines. And I spoke to BlackRock chairman and CEO Larry Fink in an exclusive interview and asked him about the alternatives business, which is a big new priority for the firm.
It is my belief for democratic economies to continue to grow and Western economies to continue to grow, we're going to have to rely more on the private sector. And the brilliance of the United States economy is based on the capital markets. And that's the role of CNBC to talk about all the different things in the role of the capital markets. We have the broadest, deepest capital markets in the world, and that's why a startup company, a small company, a medium company, a large company has access to capital like nowhere else in the world. And we underestimate the power of our global capital markets and mostly the U.S. capital markets. It is my belief that capital markets are going to become a larger and larger economic engine here in the United States and all throughout the world. I said in the editorial that we can't rely on deficits. I mean, we don't talk enough about our deficits right now. And I do believe we're going to have to rely more on the private capital, private sector. That's what President Trump's.
By the way, I did not watch this video before I just went on my little rant about why we need to grow. I promise I didn't watch this video. So the fact that he's echoing these statements, I mean, it makes sense coming from BlackRock CEO, but this is how business leaders are thinking about this. We need the private sector to grow because the public sector can't tax everyone to death. They've already tried to do that. It doesn't work. Like at some point, you just need more growth, and that's going to come from the private sector.
Talking about in some of the new policies, and we'll see how that rolls out. So if I had a crystal ball, I would tell you right now that the sectors that are going to grow the most in the capital markets in the private space will be infrastructure.
1 year ago, just this week, we should mention, BlackRock announced the acquisition of GIP. That deal closed in October. The firm has since announced 2 more deals to acquire Preqin and HPS. And I asked Vink what is next on his wish list.
Successful integration. I mean, I would tell you.
Are there other things you say to yourself, thematically, we'd like to be in?
Actually, in 2023, we called it our 2030 strategy. We said we need to get much larger in private market data, and we acquired Preqin. Mm-hmm. We said we need to get much larger in infrastructure. We had a growing infrastructure team. We were doing really well in it, but we're not growing as fast as I perceive the market. We had one target. That was GIP. And we said in the strategy session in 2023, we need to get much larger in private credit. And we had only one target, HBS. And the beauty of last year is we only had 3 targets and we acquired all 3 targets. I don't have any new targets going forward. I can't, and I'm not in the market right now buying more companies. We may do some minority investments, but we're not going to be, I don't believe you'll see BlackRock in the market buying whole companies.
Also this morning, BlackRock announcing one of its top executives, Mark Wheaton, who spent more than 2 decades at the firm, departing. Wheaton is the head of global client business and was considered a potential successor to Fink. And I asked him what the announcement means for succession plans at the firm.
Mark is a dear friend. He will remain a dear friend. I mean, he is a really true dear friend of mine.
So you got BlackRock again, kind of agreeing we need to grow. And again, the numbers that are showing their growth are pretty strong, along with the rest of the banks that reported this morning. Again, here's a chart just to show how insane BlackRock's growth has been. And one of the reasons their growth has been this good is because a lot of you guys bought up that IBIT ETF, which got about 40 billion under management, which is a small part of their 11.5 trillion that is now under management. They raised $641 billion in investor funds in 2024, $390 billion in general flowed into their ETF business. It's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible in the context of what we got going on for BlackRock. So we got about 15 minutes until this market opens. So far, we are pretty damn green. The poll right now is 62%, not a rug pull, 38%. It will be a rug pull. I don't see anything really cooling off. I mean, we got, Hood's definitely not cooling off. I mean, Hood's at 44.40. Tesla's at 410. I mean, we're not seeing any really material declines yet in the pre-market from where they were when they opened right when we got CPI. So far, everything's holding its gains pretty nicely. And then at 9:30, we see if they can continue holding their gains, because if they can, maybe this is going to be a blockbuster day. 68.84 right here on Palantir as well. Another big piece of news at 10:30, so in about an hour, I'm going to have a new partner of Palantir's on the show. Why? Because we got a new partnership for Palantir. Now, this is not a huge major partnership, but this is a pretty cool partnership because it is from a smaller company that is leveraging Palantir. And all of us Palantir investors have been waiting for much more smaller companies to get a chance to leverage Palantir. Ultimately, for Palantir to scale, they need to get to tens of thousands of customers. And that comes from small mom and pop shops, not just the BPs and Airbuses of the world. And boundlessdiscovery.com today. Again, I'll have the founders of the show or the founders of the website of the company on the show in an hour. Boundless Discovery signed a multi-year deal with Palantir Technologies. So Boundless Discovery, which specializes in rapidly modeling complex situations using open source information, has secured a multi-year partnership with Palantir Technologies, a leading provider in AI software. Boundless Discovery will be building its flagship offering on Palantir's AIP. With information growing exponentially across disparate locations of the internet and bias being increasingly pervasive, only 16% of people believe they can confidently navigate the information landscape. Boundless Discovery provides clarity and an information advantage for organizations needing rapid and accurate understanding of the external world. Essentially, Boundless Discovery is a media company, and from my understanding, and we'll learn more about them today when they get on the show, they are using Palantir's ontology to ontologize the world, meaning news events, and then try to strip out the bias from those news events using the ontology to then actually predict and deliver accurate news, which I think is a hell of an idea, because we know how much bias exists already in the media. And if you have a startup that's leveraging Palantir's technology to actually deliver the news in a way that's not as biased, I think that's something a lot of people would be interested in. So that's going to be a really cool partnership, multi-year deal. We're going to have the founders on the show in about an hour and get their thoughts on how they plan to leverage Palantir. Robinhood right here, $44.43. SoFi, 5.86%. Again, amazing move by SoFi. It's moving with the banks. It should be moving with the banks. And the upgrade they got yesterday was also very good. Bitcoin right here, just below 99, 98,680. JP Morgan's up 1%. Goldman Sachs is up 4%. Grab is up 1.8%. AMD is also up 1.23% currently right now. Cool. Okay, so let's get to a couple of other pieces of news. Actually, no, this is what did I want to show this? Well, I already referenced this, but let me show you the actual graphic. So mortgage rates, again, they are above 7%. This is the highest mortgage level we have seen in about 18 months, 7.09%. We were at 6.1% back in September. So we're up about 90 bips since then. Again, that 10-year is the reason for why this is happening. I would imagine mortgage rates are not going to be at 7% anymore if this 10-year continues to hold. Wow, look at it, 4.667. That was at 4.79 an hour ago. CPI was at 2.9%. That 10-year, that's a pretty dramatic decline. That's an actual decline. 4.8 to 4.66. That is not bad at all. So the fact that it's coming down is pretty incredible. And that should hopefully help with mortgage rates. Boundless Discovery does not trade on an exchange. They're not a public company. They're a private startup. Hopefully one day they go public, but right now they are a private startup. Grab has partnered with BYD. Yes, so let's look at that real quick. Grab has also partnered with BYD. So not a crazy partnership, nothing like insane in terms of what the partnership looks like, but essentially 50,000 BYD vehicles are going to be leveraging or Grab's going to be leveraging those 50,000 BYD vehicles, electric vehicles, all across Southeast Asia. And the goal is for the drivers to have access to electric vehicles so that they can deliver products, and for the consumers to click on electric vehicles inside of their Grab app if they want to go electric to be able to get the goods and services they need or for travel. So, yeah, the partnership may significantly influence the adoption of electric vehicles in Southeast Asia. This is why when everyone says, oh, is FSD a threat to Grab? It's like, dude, Southeast Asia barely has EVs. Like, before we get to FSD, we got to get over the electric vehicle hurdle. So we are a long time away before autonomy takes over the Southeast Asian market. Right now, it's still trying to really penetrate the North American market, but it's going to take some time. And so I do like this partnership. It does look like Grab's going to get some momentum from this. Also, Grab's bank that they own 22% of in Indonesia is looking to go public in the next couple months, raising about $100 million at a $2 billion valuation. So if that IPO does well, that could be really nice for Grab's balance sheet, as they own 22% of that super bank in Indonesia. And also they have a lot of clients that deposit into that super bank, which is another good thing as well. So that's some news on Grab. Grab right here is up a little bit as the dollar comes down, 1.72% currently right here. Palantir 4.5%, 65.91. S&P 500 1.37% as we get into the market open. I'm getting early shares to host founders. Well played. This company does not have shares yet. I don't think they have shares yet. But no, it's interesting because I think the real reason I wanted them on the show is because look, Palantir, I talked about it yesterday. So I put out a video yesterday on Daily Palantir, which is, hey, can Palantir grow 40% in 2025? And it's a long video trying to go through the detailed ways that we get to 40% growth. One of the ways we get there for Palantir, and we can't kid ourselves, is we need more clients. We can't have 600 customers. We need thousands and thousands of customers. And the only way to get those customers is to scale. The only way to scale is for more and more small companies like Boundless Discovery, even companies that are not making any revenue. I don't even know if these guys are making any money, but they need to be building on Palantir. That has to happen, and it has to happen over the next couple of years. And so hopefully that does, because that'll just increase Palantir's brand awareness as well. Speaking of Palantir, we have a new video on Karp's book that is coming out February 18th. Let's take a look at this video and what it means for the future of this book.
"20 years ago, this was like From Mars freak show, all these views. The West must defend itself. The people producing this thing called software must be aligned with our government. We should not allow institutions, software institutions, to sell to our adversaries, but not sell to the U.S. government. The world will become disjointed and more violent."
An entire generation of extraordinarily talented engineers in Silicon Valley will not hesitate to dedicate their working lives to building, online shopping algorithms, the consumer apps on our phone. But when a U.S. Marine asks for a better software system, they hesitate. So much talent, so much funding in the Valley has rushed toward the consumer at the expense of what we would argue are more significant projects, from national defense to local law enforcement, healthcare, education. The question is, where do we want the resources of our country and our civilization to go?
The way you dominate the future is you dominate the present. I want America to be American in 1,000 years.
The book at its core is a call for us to reassess the value of concepts of national identity, of a shared culture, which will be essential for this country to remain as dominant in this century as it was in the last. It was a culture that absolutely won the last World War, and it will be a culture that either wins or prevents the next one.
Pretty exciting. Pretty exciting. So we're getting the new book by Karp February 18th. Now, why does this matter for investors? Even if you don't care about a book or you don't care about the reading or anything like that, in terms of the actual concept of listening to the book, the thing to me is that it's a marketing tactic. It's a marketing tactic, right? Not only do I think Karp wants to get this message out there, but a book is a particular type of mechanism to display a message, and when that message permeates itself via the sort of age-old concept of an actual physical book, it has a real impact. I mean, when someone reads 200 pages around why the West is important, and then there's a company out there that magnifies and exemplifies all of those values, it's different than hearing it on a podcast. It's different than hearing it in some keynote. When you read 200 pages on that, you start to think a little bit more about the company. You start to get more serious about the company. I mean, I know people that read the origin stories of Amazon back in the early 2000s, and they've been Amazon shareholders for the past 2 decades. Because when they heard Bezos's philosophy and they read about how he was really thinking of scaling this product, they were like, oh, this guy is a visionary. This guy's going to build one of the most important companies in the world. So from an investor perspective, obviously Palantir needs to show growth. And I think they will hopefully guide for higher than 30% growth going into 2025, maybe 35%, which I think would be amazing. 40% would be phenomenal. But people need to know about Palantir. And people need to become long-term investors on Palantir. And in order for that to happen, you need to believe in the CEO, believe in the vision, etc. And the way to do that might be through learning about it through a book. So I think it's just good from a marketing perspective. Karp's already talked about these messages for years. Now, in the context of a book, I think it can get more distribution for his ideas. He's probably going to go on a book tour, and you're probably going to see a lot of momentum for Palantir going into February when that book comes out. Robinhood's at 44.15. SoFi's up 6%. Palantir as well at 4.5%. S&P 500 1.4. The Q's 1.5. Nothing is giving back its gains, folks. Even Bitcoin at 99,000. I mean, I don't see any of these stocks giving back even a little bit of some of the momentum they got as soon as CPI came out. Maybe they're giving back 30 cents, 40 cents, but they are holding on to these gains. 9:30 in 5 minutes. That's going to be the definer of, do we get to hold on to these gains going into the market open? One more thing on Elon that I wanted to show. So again, for those that are just joining, Elon is getting sued by the current SEC administration for buying Twitter and not disclosing it. even though he had to eventually buy all of it with a much higher price tag on it at $44 billion. Here's what Elon has had to say in the past about the SEC.
I did actually have the funding secured, and there was a big trial in San Francisco, a big civil trial, and the jury found me not guilty. Unanimous finding of a San Francisco jury. The reason I agreed to the fine for the SEC is not because the SEC was correct. That was extremely bad behavior by the SEC, corruption, frankly. But if I did not agree to pay the fine, Tesla would have gone bankrupt immediately. So I was told by our CFO that the banks would immediately suspend our lines of credit. And if they suspend our lines of credit at that time, we would have gone bankrupt instantly. So there would never have been an opportunity for a trial because Tesla would be dead. So really, if this is like someone holding a gun to your kid's head and saying, pay $20 million and admit this is like a hostage negotiation. I did actually have the funding secured.
So Elon's referencing the 420 funding secured tweet from 2018. Anyone can argue that, hey, it was wrong for him to do that. It was like, it scared investors, yada, yada. The point is that he's trying to make is that a San Francisco jury found him not guilty. So in his mind, he was like, there should have been no reason for me to have to pay the fine to the SEC if the jury system in the United States of America that's upheld to the highest of standards found me to be not guilty. The problem is none of the banks, as he said, would give him a credit line if he didn't pay that fine because they just thought it was too risky. So they had to pay that $20 million fine. And so from that perspective, I think you can obviously see that Elon is not a fan of the SEC. Here's another, not video, but tweet from the past. Or actually, no, Elon tweeted it this morning. He referenced a tweet from the past. So a long time ago, Elon tweeted, SEC, 3-letter acronym, middle word is Elon's. I'll let everyone figure out what he's trying to imply there. But Elon quote tweeted that tweet today, and he said, yeah, something like that. Something like that. So he has zero respect for this SEC. Absolutely zero respect. And, suing him 5 days before do we have a new SEC chair is kind of crazy, but nonetheless, it's happening. Not really affecting Tesla right here, up 3.4%. All right, folks, we got a minute 30 seconds. A minute 30 seconds. Here we go. It's time to see if there's actually a rug pull or if there's not going to be a rug pull today. My gut tells me we hold some of these gains. I don't know if we're going to hold all of these gains. I definitely think there's people that are probably scared still of this market, and they're going to use this opportunity to exit positions. I just think if CPI is stabilizing and inflation's coming down and the labor market's not as bad, there's not a real logical reason to get out and run for the fences. Unless you think tech's going to crap the bed on earnings. But given what the banks just did, the banks are a barometer of the financial health of America to an extent. The banks are not perfect at judging financial health, but if you have more deposits, if you're giving out more loans, there's more capital spending, then you can at least somewhat accurately say, all right, the United States economy is in a decent position. If the biggest banks in the world are able to give money back to their shareholders and pay dividends, that means they have more disposable income. Like, it means the banks are doing okay. It means the financial health of the country is okay. It means like when Robinhood needs a $3 billion credit line, which they got from JP Morgan a year and a half ago, JP Morgan has the $3 billion to give them that credit line because Robinhood wants to launch a credit card to be able to create new products and services. Like, all of this depends on the big boys having good earnings. And the banks crushed it today, if you're just joining. CPI came in better than expected, came in line with expectations on the headline. So now it's just up to tech. If tech can perform, then maybe 2025 continues to be as strong, or at least hopefully in line with what we saw in 2024. All right, here we go. Wednesday, January 15th, 9:30 a.m. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is now open. Here we go. Palantir opens up 3.76%. The S&P 500 up 1.3%. The Qs up 1.5%, 512 on the Qs. Grab was up 4%. Now it's up 2%. So you had a nice little spike up 4%. Now it's up 2%. Robinhood, wow, Robinhood, 43.71. It's not at 44, but I'll take 43.70. I'll take it. Anything above 43.50, I like. Robinhood, 43.69. Tesla's at 410. That's up 3%. Oh my goodness. BlackRock has passed $1,000 a share. It is up 5.63%. Where's SoFi? SoFi, 15.44. up 6.4%. We know they just passed 10 million members, as Noto said a couple of weeks ago. They've got earnings in 2 weeks. If they crush earnings, they guide for 20% growth in 2025. I mean, it's hard to see SoFi not being closer to that $20 range. Robinhood, 43.76, Tesla, 408, BlackRock, 1,000, JP Morgan, 251, Morgan Stanley, 129. That's up 4%. Goldman Sachs is up 5%. Goldman Sachs beat on their EPS estimates by 40 freaking percent. That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Goldman Sachs right here, up 5% as we get into the market open. Nike is up 1%. Square is up 5%. Square has been struggling a lot. Square is up 5%. AMD is up 1.86%. Eli Lilly, that got hit yesterday, down 7%. They're up about 0.5%. Hims is up 4.3%. Not bad for Hims. Meta is up 2.4%. By the way, at 10 a.m. today, we are going to get the TikTok, what do you call it? The TikTok Supreme Court ruling. I believe at 10 a.m. today, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but at 10 a.m. we're going to get the ruling, and we're going to see how close TikTok is really to getting banned in the United States. The S&P 500, 590. Rocket Lab is up 5%. The Qs are up 1.6%. Palantir, 2.89%. SoFi, 1540. Robinhood keeps moving. Robinhood looks like it wants 44. It looks like it wants 44. Tesla at 411. Let's look at the Mag 7. All of them are green. Tesla leading the way. NVIDIA's up 1.5. Amazon's up 2.4. Google's up 1.9. Meta's up 2.9. Microsoft's up 1.3. Apple's up 1.3. Tesla is up 3.83% on the day. Not bad. Let's go to the spec names. Let's go to the spec names. Wow. Take a look at Quantum. QUBT, 20%. Rigetti, not regretty today, up 23%. IONQ, up 17%. D-Wave, up 25%. All of the quantum pump is happening not only because of CPI, but because, for those that missed it, NVIDIA is hosting their first Quantum Developers Day on March 20th, 2025, which is not 20 years away, apparently. It's 2 months away. So do with that information what you will, but it looks like that's why quantum is pumping. GameStop's up 5%. AMC's up 4%. MicroStrategy's up a whopping 5.3%. Big Bear is up 6%. Faraday Future 7%. Archer's up 5%. SoundHound is up 7.43%. Bitcoin is at 99,000, just hovering at 99,000, but currently at these levels right now. Is anything red? That's a good question. Let me know in the chat if anything is red. JP Morgan just went red slightly. JP Morgan just went red. Now, JP Morgan's the only bank that wasn't up like 4% in the pre-markets. It was only up 1%. I think it's because JP Morgan was up a lot last year. I think JP Morgan was up like 45% or something. It's one of the biggest banks at a $700 billion market cap. So I think JP Morgan in general, their growth wasn't as impressive as like Goldman Sachs, which is probably why market's selling it off a little bit. But they had one of the best years in terms of bank returns in 2024. So their expectations are probably a lot higher. JP Morgan slightly going green just now. Applied Digital is red. As you can see, I'm scrolling on the left-hand side of my screen. There's a lot of green. Even I am struggling to see the red. United Health is red. They were up 5% on Monday, so I feel like that's okay. Yeah, dude, a lot is green. Grab is green. Palantir is green. S&P, Qs, Rocket Lab. Let's go to the semis. Are any of the semis red? None of them. TSM, barely going red. It's down by 5 cents. ASML, down by 16 cents. Everything else is red. NVIDIA, AMD are all good. NVIDIA might be going red. It's losing some of its gains, but it's up 0.5%. Let's go to crypto. Nothing in crypto is red. CleanSpark, Coinbase, all the Bitcoin miners, Robinhood. Wow, 44.45 on Robinhood. Look at that. Are we trying to go for 45, folks? Are we trying to go for 45? Let me check resistance on 45. Hold on. Let me check resistance on 45. Let's see. Okay, let's do this right now before the 10:30 dump. Put in the chat how much you're up right now. Put in the chat how much your portfolio is up. My portfolio was just up 30,000. Now it's up 18,000 because it's very volatile. But put in the chat. Let's just enjoy the moment because we know at 10:30 it's going to be taken away from us. So let's enjoy the moment right now. Put up how much you're up in the chat. Robinhood resistance at 45 is 76,000 shares, which is not a lot. 76,000 shares, which is not a lot. Okay, now I'm up 23,000. Some good numbers, some fun numbers today. Some fun numbers. In an hour, it probably goes away because we've been through this all the time. But this is pretty green, bro. This is pretty green. Maybe it doesn't go away that easily. FinTech is all green. Affirm, PayPal, Square, Coinbase, SoFi obviously leading the way. Robinhood at 44.30, incredible. SaaS is all green. Salesforce, Oracle, Snowflake, Datadog, Palantir, Twilio, Intuit's the only one that's red. Zscaler, CrowdStrike, all of these are green. I mean, it is not easy to find some red. Oil and gas, all of it is green. All the banks are green. Oil and gas is green. JP Morgan's the only one that's down. Semis are green. Crypto's green. The Max 7 are green. FinTech is green. I mean, AI is green. SaaS names are green. The market really likes this one, bro. The market really freaking likes this one. Really, really, really likes this one. It's not bad. Got a lot of you guys up basically 4 to 5%. It looks like that's the majority of all of you guys. 4 to 5% is what everyone's up right now. I mean, dude, unless we get an epic rug pull in an hour of all of this green going to red, which maybe is possible, but this is a lot of green. This is not, I mean, we have not seen a day where pretty much every single name, again, I'm sure there's a couple names out there that's red, but Snapchat's green, Teladoc's green, United Airlines is green, Disney's green, Arc Innovation is green. Arc's up 4%. Kathy's up 4% today. Robin at 44.40. Tesla at 408. It's not at 411 anymore, but still holding on to the 405s is not bad. BlackRock's green. JP Morgan just went green. Morgan Stanley's green. I mean, goodness. VIX is red. Yeah, that's what we want to be red. VIX should be red. VIX is down 8%. That's not bad. That is not bad at all. MSTR is leading the NASDAQ 100. MSTR right here, 354. Again, I think we're going to give back some of the gains. I don't think it's going to be as blistering green by 4 p.m. But is everything going to go actually red like it did yesterday at 350? That's what, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it right now. But then again, that when it doesn't feel like it is when it tends to happen. But if you put CPI together with the labor market report with amazing bank earnings, I feel like it's a pretty logical thesis to say that the market likes it. Seems like the market might like it. Where is Fartcoin? Fartcoin must be exploding right now. Fartcoin, 115. Yeah, that's up 5%. That's green. Let's check Butthole Coin because these are the asset prices we need to keep track of. Okay, Butthole Coin is actually down 11%, so that's good. A little bit of froth leaving some parts of the market. NVIDIA went red. Okay, NVIDIA is the first name to go red. NVIDIA is the first name to go red out of the big names this morning. Let's see which ones follow. NVIDIA is the first name to go red so far. Again, we're going to give back some of the gains. That's going to happen. I don't expect all these names to be up 6 to 7%. It's just a question of if they go red and they're down 1 to 2%, because that was kind of the story yesterday on some of these names towards the end of the day. Tesla holding on, BlackRock holding on, JP Morgan holding on, Morgan Stanley holding on, Goldman Sachs holding on. Also, I mean, these could be algos just taking profits in the intermediate term, and then, the market gets back into buying. So it definitely will take a few hours to see how this plays out. Nike was almost below $70 yesterday. Now it's at $71.84. Square was at like $80 yesterday. Now it's at $85. AMD not going red with NVIDIA. Interesting. NVIDIA barely holding on to its green, but it just went green. But AMD usually follows NVIDIA. Not today. Look at Dixie. Dixie should be down. Dixie was at 109 this morning. Dixie's at 108.63. So Dixie coming down very nicely. This is what we need to see. The dollar must come down for international stocks to benefit and for overall U.S. equities to be in a better situation. The 10-year, yeah, look at this thing, dude. Lowest level of the past 2 weeks, 4.661. Not bad. Not bad at all. Still got a lot of time to see how this plays out, but I can't believe it's only 9:38. Yeah, I mean, we're only 8 minutes into this market open, and we have so much time to see how this plays out. But still, dude, this is not bad. If you bought the dip over the past couple of days on anything, it looks like you're at least up for today. I mean, if you bought the dip over the last couple of days, wow, Robinhood 44.50. Holy crap, dude. Robinhood is not slowing down here. 44.50 on the hood. That's pretty damn incredible, dude. It's pretty damn incredible on hoodie. Palantir 67.93. SoFi 15.35. Still holding the 15s. 15.50 is, I think, where it has to break to get some real momentum. It did hit 15.54 for a second. NVIDIA going, oh, wow, NVIDIA back up 1%. Huh. Pretty resilient, bro. pretty, I mean, to have that little blip and then go back up is not too bad. Tesla right there, 413 as well. Tesla was at 380 on Monday, went all the way up to 422 yesterday, came back down to 395 to end the day, now at 413. Looks like the SEC lawsuit is not affecting Elon at all. Bitcoin at 99,000. Bitcoin ETF inflows yesterday, let's take a look at that. They've been pretty bad for the past 2 weeks. Yeah, yesterday they were still bad. Yesterday, Bitcoin ETF inflows lost $209 million. The day before, $285 million. The day before, $150 million. So essentially, Bitcoin ETF outflows have been 550 million over the past, or 600 million over the past 3 days. And still, Bitcoin's at 99,000. That's pretty damn incredible, dude. To lose over $500 million from the ETFs in 3 days and still have big, and Bitcoin was up yesterday and it still lost 200 million bucks. So even yesterday, people were scared. They were selling their ETFs. That's nice to see Bitcoin kind of catch a bid with that happening. Quantum is up right now because Jensen and NVIDIA are holding a Quantum Developers Day on March 20th. That's why Quantum is up right now. And that's why you're seeing them up all basically 20 to 25% on the day. Oklow's up 10%. Kohler is up 5%. MSCR is up 5%. Archer's up 9%. Where is Joby? Joby, Soundhound's up 9%. And Joby is up 6% as well. Not bad. Wow, 44.70. Oh, crap. I think we're going to 45. I think we're trying to go to 45. I think we're trying to go to 45. Amit, show us your hairline. Okay, let me show you guys this picture because everyone thinks I never show my hairline because I wear a hat all the time. First of all, I can take the hat off. This is my hair. It's just my hair is crazy. That's why I wear a hat, because if not only would it be distracting to you, it'd be distracting to me. But my best friend, my brother, the guy who showed me how to really make money in the market. Yesterday, he had a really interesting tweet based on the haircut that I posted yesterday. And, might as well show everybody because everyone wants to see it. So here we go. This is this is what your bros post and get 250 likes on when they're a little bored. This is for those that wanted to. There you go. That's from Chris Patel. That's from Chris Patel. Dude, I did not check my phone for 30 minutes during that haircut, which was crazy because I check my phone every 30 seconds. I finally check my phone. I see Robinhood's up 10% after I get a haircut. I'm like, that's great. And then Robinhood falls because the market falls. So my haircut, I guess, got the market a haircut. But yeah, that was yesterday. And then if you don't like that one, well, there you go. Chris thinks I look like this. So yeah, for those that just know, if you get a best friend, that best friend will take any opportunity they have to compare your hair to these figures. So there you go. Now you guys have seen my hairline. All right, we're still green. Oh my God, 44.92. Oh my God, 45 is going to be amazing. 45 is going to be so good, bro. 45 is going to feel so good on Hood. Oh boy, 5 cents away. Let's do this, bro. They deserve it. Vlad's been executing. They've cared about retail investors. They've cared about shareholders. They've actually made an attempt to give a crap about their users. They gave away freaking $5 million on New Year's Eve. Robinhood deserves this 45. Let's see if they can get there, bro. Let's see if they can get there. 44.79, up 7%. Oh, it's getting rejected right there. It's psychologically, 45 is going to be tough for Hood. It's going to be tough. It hit 44.98, now at 44.62. Resistance at 45 is now 81,000 shares, which is not a lot of shares. This is algos now. The algos have to be okay with giving us 45. They've got to be okay with it. Let's see if we can get it. MicroStrategy 357, ARC 58.49, Grab's up 3%. Okay, getting some love. Palantir as well, up 3%. Guys, the S&P is going up. The S&P is going up. The S&P is not going down. It's going up. 591. The like we're going higher. We're at 1.53%. We were at 1.2%. We are going up right now. Tesla's going up. BlackRock's going up. Applied Digital and Eli Lilly are red. If Eli Lilly's red on a day like this, that means the street really hated their guidance yesterday, even with a good CPI. So Eli Lilly's red. But outside of that, Texas Roadhouse is red. Shake Shack is red. All right, so some of the restaurants are red. United Healthcare is red. But everything else is green. Everything else is green right now. Yeah, Robinhood's teasing us. Robinhood's teasing us. It is absolutely teasing us right now. The U.S. strengthens restrictions on advanced computing semiconductors to prevent diversion to China. Yeah, it looks like that's part of Biden's new regulations that he put out the other day. I don't know if Trump's going to keep those. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But that's probably why NVIDIA took a little dip, right? If that headline came out just 10 minutes ago, NVIDIA right back up to 1.2%. That could have been the reason why NVIDIA had a little bit of a hit. 45 is resistance on hood, correct? 45, they're not going to give it to us that easy. They're not going to give it to us that easy. Amit, do you let your hair flow around the house or do you wear the hat at home? No, I wear a hat as well. I don't wear the same hat. I wear like a beanie. Dude, like I get really annoyed when my hair is not under control. Like it's really annoying. It's just constantly in my face. And it's either that or I get a buzz cut. And I don't want a buzz cut. Even though one day, who knows, maybe a buzz cut would look good, but that's why I just wear a hat. But it's not like I wear a hat all the time. I take my hat off when I, go out to certain places. It's just sometimes my hair gets out of control, dude. And it's like the only way to control it is with the hat. AMD's up 2.7. Nike's up 1%. Hoodie not giving us 45 yet. Tessie, Palantir's at 68.05. S&P 591. And then Tessie right here at 411. Dude, it's not bad. It's not bad. Dude, I've been thinking of getting a perm. Maybe one day. Maybe one day I'm going to get a perm. Maybe one day. I think a perm wouldn't look crazy. It wouldn't be horrible. NVIDIA announces $500 million data center in Israel. Huh, interesting. Did that come out just now? NVIDIA, $500 million new AI data center expansion in Israel. So NVIDIA is expanding to Israel. 10,000 square meter facility, around $500 million, will be among the largest and most advanced data center labs currently in Israel. Okay, so we're getting that headline right there. Robinhood again trying to make an attempt, up 7%, 44.75, trying to go back to that 45 range. Grabs at 450. Bitcoin 99.1. We're getting some momentum on Bitcoin. We were at 99.4 about 20 minutes ago. Let's see if we can hold that up. But this is definitely not too bad for NVIDIA right here. A Wells Fargo, let's take a look at them. They had earnings as well. Wells Fargo up 5%. Looks like Wells Fargo crushed it. Another bank that crushed it. Another bank that is not doing too bad. Micron. Yeah, let's look at this one. This one, I know this one's a name that a lot of people have been thinking of. Micron. Wow, that's up 5%. Dude, this is an everything rally. This is an everything rally today. This is an everything rally. Everything. You might find a couple names that are red, but everything. Intel's getting a bid. SMCI is getting a bid. By the way, Kramer likes SMCI. So, Kramer hates SMCI. The opposite. So, yeah, I mean, maybe Steve is going to be right about this. AMD's up 2.7. ARM's up 3.2. Marvell's up 2.6. TSM's up 1.2. Qualcomm's up 2.6. Mag 7 is all green. Do we officially get the TikTok 10 a.m. thing? Let me confirm with that. I think Supreme Court 10 a.m. We're going to find out about TikTok. Reddit's up 5% right now, 173 on Reddit. Yeah, 10 a.m., guys. So in 11 minutes, holy crap, 11 minutes, we get the TikTok. 11 minutes, we get the TikTok news. 11 minutes. I mean, this is your last chance to get Meta or Google. if you think TikTok's going to be a catalyst. Google right here, 194. Meta at 609. 11 minutes, we should be able to see what it's like. We should be able to see it. 10-year still falling. Is the 10-year still falling? Yeah, 108.7. We are still falling. The Dow's up as well. The Dow's up more than 600 points, dude. Holy crap. Look at the Dow Jones up 1.68%. This is a green day, guys. This is S&P's at 592. In the morning, we were at 585. This is a big green day. Robinhood going for it again, 44.88. Oh, we touched 45. We touched it. Did I miss the comments? Oh, I missed all that. I'm so sorry. I missed it. 45 on Hood, baby. I completely missed it, dude. I completely missed it. Oh my gosh. Wow. Damn. Well, now we got to get back there. Now we got to get back there. Now we got to see it. And it's okay because I missed it, but then it left in like a second. So it's not really sustained at 45. But, and we've been through this with Palantir many times, once you break that level, you then get sold off immediately. But because you broke the level, you probably get higher above it, over with Palantir, usually over the next 30, 40 minutes. So breaking that level is important psychologically, even if you get rejected at that level, because it means there were buyers at 45. That's what matters. And then algo step in, but then eventually you normalize it. There you go. 45 again. 45 again. Robinhood, $45.
Oh, I'm going to come.
$45 on Hood. 45 freaking bucks on Hood. Dude, they deserve it. That is so sexy. 45. That is so sexy. CPI was at 2.9%. CPI was at 2.9%. For those that are new here, that is the sound. That is I almost said that is the sound hound. That is the soundboard. Wow, 45.10, up 8% on Hoodie. Up 8% on Hoodie. You know what? Where's my hoodie? I need to go get a hoodie right now. I need to go wear a hoodie. I need to go wear a freaking hoodie for this, dude. Holy crap, 45.14. Oh my goodness. 45.14. NVIDIA 133, MicroStrategy 358. Oh my goodness. Grab at 452. Bitcoin 99.2. This is why we invest for days like this. We get our hearts ripped out a couple days before Christmas for this reason, to get a day like this, Wednesday, January 15th. All of your friends, all of your family, probably none of them even know what a consumer price index is. They definitely don't know who Jerome Powell is, but we know for days like this when Robinhood's at $45.30 freaking cents. That's why we invest. That is why we invest, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. This is incredible. Is AMD at 120? AMD's almost close to 120. It touched 119.8. It's not at 120 yet, but it's trying to get there. It's trying to get there. August 5th changed my life. Yeah, I mean, again, those days, they can absolutely change lives. Like, it's kind of crazy. A dip in the market could change your life. Like, think about that, dude. On August 5th, when people were buying the dip on Hood, for example, at 14 or Palantir at $20, your friends and family could have been out shopping at Target or something, and you were buying the freaking dip at that moment. That was a life-changing event, while everyone who doesn't care about the stock market was doing their basic things they do every day. And because you actually care about investing, the markets, financial freedom, you were buying the freaking dip. Absolutely incredible. Robinhood 45.20, MicroStrategy 356, NVIDIA 133, Joby at 832, ARK at 58, Bitcoin still holding on to 99, Palantir just below 68 at 67.89, S&P 500 at 591 currently right now. Not bad. Not bad at all. All right, so here's the question. Let's ask this question. Are you taking profits? Are you taking profits today? Let's try to humble all the euphoria with a little bit of nuance here. Who's taking profits? Be honest. Who's saying, you know what? I like it, but I'm going to be a little conservative here and I'm going to take some profits. Let's see. Everyone's like, nope, I'm going long. That's got to be a sound. I'm going long. Got to do that as a sound. I'm going long. 83% of you say no to take profits. 83% say no to taking profits. Dude, Hood is not stopping. Are we going to freaking 46? Let me check resistance at 46. Are we going to 46? 46 is 11,000 shares. That's not any resistance. 11,000 shares is nothing. If it has the volume, 46 is not hard. And by the way, that's not crazy. Every analyst on Wall Street has us basically priced between 46 and 54, with a bunch of them in the 53 range and a bunch of them in the 60 range. So getting up to those levels is not insane. We know Hood's going to grow basically 100% in Q4. They're going to put up almost $900 million in revenue, or a little bit above $900 million in revenue. So, we know Q4 is going to be amazing. And now that CPI is cooling off, those are the recipes you need for a decent run. Tesla right here at 411. Also, the thing people forget about Hood, S&P inclusion this year is very possible. And if it happens, I mean, that's another catalyst that'll be very, very exciting. Is Meet Kevin still bearish? I don't know. Last time I checked, which was a week ago, he was pretty not bullish. If you guys watch some of his stuff, you can let me know if he's still bearish, but I'm pretty sure he's a little bit more on the cautious side versus, I don't know if he's super bearish, but he's definitely not super bullish. So I would say he's more cautious than not. I think he's long SMCI though. So he does like that one. Where's Enphase today? Where's Enphase? Enphase is up 2%. Dude, what's red? I still don't see any red. Texas Roadhouse we talked about, United Health we talked about, Walgreens, they were up a lot the last week, so that's normal. This company, BAER, they got a bid because they're going to be building the jets or the airplanes that help take out the fires in Los Angeles. So they're red because they probably went up a lot. But what's actually red? Tesla's up 4%. NVIDIA's up 1%. Amazon's up 2%. All the crypto names are up. All the semi names are up. All the fintech names are up. All the SaaS names are up. All the banks are up. All the oil and gas companies are up. Intuit just went green, which means all the SaaS names are up. Healthcare is green today, except United Health and AbbVie. Where is Moderna? Oh, even Moderna's up. Even the pharmaceuticals are up. 10-year yield is very red. Yeah, 10-year yield. I guess that's what's red today. 4.657 on the 10-year. NEO's red. Oh, China. Let's check on China. China, BABA's up. NEO is down. FXI, which is the Chinese ETF, that's up as well. So even China participating a bit in some of this rally. The Dow Jones is up. Micron 102, that's up 5%. I know a lot of you guys have Micron, so congrats on that. Jason says he likes the technicals on Micron as well. And then NVIDIA 133, MicroStrategy 359, Robinhood 45.46. Cheesecake. Is Cheesecake red? Cheesecake is red. Okay, in 3 minutes, we're going to get the freaking... Wow, Robinhood just got 45.50. Holy crap, 45.50. In 3 minutes, we get the TikTok decision. I think in 3 minutes, we get the TikTok decision. So let me pull that up. If we get the TikTok decision and they're officially banned, or the Supreme Court says, yeah, we're not extending them, then that's big. Big for Meta and Google. That's really big. So keep an eye on Meta and Google the next literally 2 minutes. Maybe the move's already happening on Meta and Google. That's why they're up right now. Maybe. Like you could say it's priced into. Maybe it could be a sell the news, but in the next 2 minutes, we're going to see. In the next 2 minutes, we're going to see. Meta right there is up 3% right now. Meta is up 3%. Even TLT is green. Yeah, well, TLT should be green. TLT has to be green here. Look at that, up 1.7%. That TLT gives you a nice 4% yield and capital appreciation, hopefully, if the 10-year comes down. That is the hope that investors have in TLT. And on a day like today, that's when TLT should be getting some momentum. President-elect Donald Trump's SEC to overhaul crypto policy may freeze enforcement. That's by Reuters. Thank you, Brett, for that headline. There you go, guys. We're entering a new administration. All this SEC suing Elon, that stuff's not going to be real under Trump's SEC. Trump's SEC is going to get rid of Elon's lawsuit. They're going to overhaul a lot of the Gensler, in my opinion, nonsense regulations that he put up. And the reason I say nonsense is because he doesn't give any clear guidelines. And then he has these overarching regulations that don't have any like tangible impact because no one knows what the hell the regulations even mean. And that's why I feel like they were a lot of nonsense crypto regulations. And Robinhood has spoke about this. Robinhood, Coinbase, they've tried to talk to the SEC in good faith. They've like said, hey, we'll come to your headquarters. We'll like spend as many months as you need. And the SEC doesn't want to talk to them. If you don't want to talk with the guys that are trying to innovate in the space, then that means you're anti-innovation. And it looks like the Trump administration is not going to keep that going. AMD up 2.3. All right, Google and Meta. Here we go. 10 a.m. Let's see if we can get the TikTok decision. 10 a.m. We should be getting it very soon. We should be getting the headline very soon. Let's see. I'm looking at a couple different sources to see if I can get this thing. If anyone has it in the chat, let me know. Robinhood 45.50. Let's go to CNBC real quick and see if they have it. If not, I'll try to get it from somewhere else.
In celebratory mode after the more benign CPI report, the S&P 500 up 1.7%, Nasdaq's up 2% right now. We've got every sector higher. Financials are leading the charge, up 2.3%. Real estate also with a nice gain of about 2%. Why? Because rates are moving south. Interest rates in the market, that is. Yields coming down off of those very elevated levels. Bonds rallying off the better cues that the market is taking from this CPI report. 10-year yield 4.65. So a little bit of relief there for yields and equities as well.
Keeping a close eye on the Supreme Court this morning as the justices debate whether to step in and block this potential TikTok ban from going into effect on Sunday. That SCOTUS decision could happen this hour. We're going to bring that to you immediately if we get more.
We are 30 minutes here into the trading session. Here are three big movers we're watching. Big banks kicking.
Okay, so we don't have it yet, but we should be getting it soon. Probably, I would imagine in the next 30 minutes, we'll get the decision. Robinhood 45.62. Robinhood looks like it wants to go for 46.
Off another busy earnings season. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, Citi, all on the move. We're going to break down the numbers for you.
Oh, wait, did Bitcoin hit 100? Are we at 100 on Bitcoin? No, we're at 99.6. We're at 99.7. We didn't hit 100 yet. 99.7 on Bitcoin.
In just a moment, but they're all higher right now. More volatility in the quantum stocks, all gaining this morning as Microsoft calls 2025 the, quote, year to become quantum ready. And then watching BlackRock, big gainer on the S&P after reporting a record year of net inflows, taking their assets under management to a record $11.6 trillion. Just gigantic. And now a big mix of public and private. But guys, the big story today is CPI, inflation. And the markets are celebrating this number, as I mentioned. Why? Well, here's the good news. Core CPI, which takes out food and energy, was better than the economists expected. The core figures come in at 0.2% increase on the month. 0.3% was what we got last month, and 0.3% is what we expected. So we'd like to see that cooler number. That's good news. Also, after 4 consecutive monthly gains of 0.3%, it's good to see a 0.2% number. Also, another piece of good news here, Supercore, which the Fed looks at, it's services inflation if you take out rent, which has been stubbornly high. Also, some relief there, 0.2% versus the 0.3% prior. It's the first annual drop in core CPI since July. That's why the market is breathing a sigh of relief. Does it really change the trajectory for the Fed? Hard to know, right? We do expect this pause in January to go through the beginning of the year. Maybe it looks like they could cut in June instead of October. Market's still grappling with this idea of whether we'll get 1 cut or 2 cuts. But for a Fed that has been worried about the stubbornness and lack of progress and disinflation, this is pretty good news. The overall number actually was a little bit higher. We got an increase there, 0.4% on the month and 2.9%. But that was, guys, largely due to energy, which we knew energy prices were higher. And that made up a big percentage of the move. Surged 2.6% on the month. Gasoline, fuel oil, propane, they all saw big monthly gains. In fact, the biggest of the year. But, look, we're still seeing inflation on a monthly basis in used cars and trucks. New vehicles up 0.5% on the month. Food prices are still rising. And these are the sort of lowest gainers in terms of prices. Apparel and medical care service still higher. So,
So, I mean, look, the market likes it. Again, you do have some things going higher, but it's not enough. It's not the runaway inflation the bears have been saying is going to exist. At least not yet. Maybe we need a lot more data, more months of data to see how sticky it is. But it's not insane inflation that would cause you to just sell the 10-year, sell your stocks, and hide in money market funds for the next 2 years. Like at least today, we're not seeing that data. Not yet. It's not there yet. Bitcoin, 99,615. I mean, Bitcoin looks like it wants 100. It really looks like it wants 100 given this momentum. Meta's up 3%. Google's up 2%. Snapchat, we got to add to the list because Snapchat could be a beneficiary of TikTok being banned. I think the TikTok ban is priced into Snapchat. That's up 7%. Unless if it's not priced in, then maybe there's more room to grow, but that one's definitely up a ton. So we should be getting the decision soon. I think everyone already knows the Supreme Court's decision. The question is if TikTok themselves officially decides to leave. Now, there was a report last night saying that TikTok is getting ready for their app to shut off on Sunday. So they're like getting all the technology ready needed to like shut it down in the United States. So that might be something that's being priced in. But the other report from Bloomberg is that TikTok's getting ready to sell itself. And I think no one really knows the answer. We're going to find out in about 5 days. But we will see. Rocket Lab also up 9%, up 7%. So did the Blue Origin thing launch last night? Let me see. I did not see if it happened. Blue Origin. The launch was last night, right? It was last night at like 2 a.m. or something. I feel like it took off last night. That might be a reason for why we're getting some love as well on Rocket Lab. It was scrubbed yesterday morning. Wow. Okay. Gotcha. Now it's Thursday. Wow. It got delayed twice. Okay. All right. So Thursday we see it. Thursday we are going to see. But Rocket Lab getting some love, up 7%. Hong Kong legislator proposes adding Bitcoin to their national reserves. Wow. I mean, there you go. Again, we had that Washington Post article come out a couple of days ago. Trump is going to unleash tons of executive orders, not only on energy, but on Bitcoin on day one. That was the report we got yesterday. Robin right here, 45.50. If that comes to fruition, wow, Grab's up 4%. Grab's actually loving this right here. If that happens, I mean, I don't see how that's bearish for Bitcoin. I don't see how that's to sell the news either, because these are executive orders that are going to be really, really bullish. And they're probably going to get more people to get excited about the asset class, at least in the short term. Crypto is obviously very volatile, but in the short term, I definitely think that could be exciting. SpaceX launched 2 lunar satellites last night. Would you guys invest in SpaceX at $350 billion? Would you invest at $350 billion? Would you invest in SpaceX? Like actually, like would you actually put in some change, 25 to 50K into SpaceX at a $350 billion valuation? S&P 591, Q's at 515, Palantir 68.42, Nubank running off that high dollar. That's up about 4 or 3.5%, 11.28 on Nubank. I see like 60% yeses, 40% no's. I think I would invest in SpaceX. I mean, 350 is definitely, a premium compared to where it was years ago, but if you're investing in SpaceX, you got to believe it's going to be a multi-trillion-dollar company. And you got to believe SpaceX is going to be the de facto satellite launcher, and they're going to have the best shot to get to Mars. Or if you don't want to say Mars, to launch things into space that are creating an entire new commercial space industry, which is what Bezos is after with Blue Origin. And I don't even know if we know the TAM of that market. I mean, that TAM feels like, at least for now, in the trillions, especially as humanity needs to start using space much more outside of just using Earth. I mean, there's so many projects of like throwing our trash into space and all this stuff and cleaning up. There's a lot of different things we can do. It's just a question of if we have the tech to get there. Where's Hoodie? Where is Hoodie? 45.78. Oh my gosh. Are we actually going for 46? There's no resistance at 46, guys. So there's a shot. There is no resistance at 46. 9,000 shares at 46, dude. Oh my goodness. Oh my. I think we might be going for it. Beneficial, thanks for the $2 super chat. I think we might be going for it. I think we're going for 40. Dude, Robinhood was up 10% yesterday. Then it ended up like 5%. Now it's up 9.8%. It's going for 46 right now, trying to get back up there. It's not bad. This is why I don't have any covered calls on a Hoodie. I'm too scared, bro. Too scared. Like, I feel like covered calls at like $60 or $65 is reasonable, but you're not going to get a lot of premium. So you're going to make a little bit of money. But covered calls at 44, 45, even 50 is kind of scary. Because you get a day like this and you just have to navigate it. So I don't know. Again, maybe this fades out a little bit throughout the end of the day and those are fine. But we're going before Q4. I don't like covered calls in the mid 40s at all. I just think it's tough, especially if CPI is on our side and got the 10-year coming down a little bit more. Yeah, Jason did say yesterday it is the biggest cup and handle on Robinhood from the technicals that we've seen since Palantir. And we all know what happened to Palantir when we were looking at the cup and handle when it was at about $34. If you do the same cup and handle on hoodie, you get closer to $80, and it's pretty nice. Steve, good morning. You're on the Market Open.
Good morning. I just wanted to let you know that Palantir is not going to zero.
I agree. I think Palantir is not going to zero.
Oh, this market is crazy.
This market is crazy. Steve, I can't find a single stock that's red.
I'm sure if you look hard enough, you can.
No. So I found a couple stocks, but you get my point. Like, there's like everything's green. Like Shake Shack is red. Okay. Like everything is green.
So, I mean, just like I said, maybe good news is good news.
Maybe good news is good news. That's correct.
Maybe that should be the headline. Maybe good news is good news.
Maybe good news is good news. So CPI obviously came in with expectations, which was good. We actually were down on the core. TLT is up, Google's up, Meta's up. We're going to get a TikTok ban probably soon by the Supreme Court. Robinhood's up almost 10%. Nvidia's up 1.6%. I mean, market likes it.
SoFi's up 75 cents or so.
SoFi is up more than that. SoFi.
Right.
No, you're right. Yeah, 70 cents. SoFi 15.19. It was at 15.54 at one point.
And it is freezing outside, by the way.
Yeah, I went outside last night to take out the trash. It was cold.
Yeah, I'm on my way to go get breakfast. So I figured I'd give you a call and say, good news is good news.
Well, what are you going to get for breakfast?
My standard 3 eggs on a wrap, peppers, onion, salt, pepper, ketchup.
I love how you say it that quickly because you just know that you're going to.
Well, they see my phone number pop up and say, hey, Steve, we'll be ready in 10 minutes.
Dude, they must love you. They must love you.
They love me.
So I guess, Steve, based on how green today is, do you do anything on a day like this? Do you sell covered calls or do you just sit back?
I have to look because I think I have stuff rolling off at the end of this week. And depending on when earnings are for some of these companies, I may just do a 1 week covered call. I think SoFi has run out this week for me. So I really don't want to have any covered calls for SoFi that span earnings because I think that they're going to crush and it's going to go up. So I don't want to be in a rolling game.
Dude, I can feel the cold from the phone. That's how bad it is.
It's like 25 degrees out, and it's like a freaking wind tunnel on 2nd Avenue. So it's freaking cold.
Steve, do you ever pinch yourself sometimes when you're walking through New York City? You get to live and work in the greatest city of the world. Do you ever just like,
No.
You never
No,
like.
it's normal. I lived here my whole life. It's just normal.
No, but you never like, wow, look at World Trade, look at Empire State. Like, this is the city. This is where people chase their dreams, like.
No, when I drive in over the Queensboro Bridge and you see the entire city when you drive in, that's when it's like, this is big. This is a big city.
Yeah, I mean, it would inspire me every day.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you.
Yeah, everyone in the chat saying it's a dump. It's a dumpster fire.
What?
The city.
I'll see you guys later. It's not. I don't know why people say that. Like, there are things that look, every city's got its down points and stuff. There are things I certainly don't like about it, but it's definitely not a dumpster fire.
XRP is at 290 right now, right?
I mean, I wasn't going to say it.
That's actually, I got to give you some credit. That's a little bit of humility is nice once in a while, I'm going to do it for you. I sold my XRP at 250 or 230, whatever I sold it at.
Listen, nobody ever got hurt taking a profit, buddy.
Well, why didn't you tell me to hold it? Because now it's at almost $3.
Listen, I told you to buy it at freaking like 40 cents. Nobody listens.
That's true. You did. You did tell me.
So
you did tell me to do that. Okay, so here's the more important question, Steve. Do you think this is a rug pull? Do you think a bull trap?
No. S&P 7,000 2025.
That's a hell of a prediction, Steve.
It's not. It's not. So what S&P, think about what it did in a high rate environment. You've already got 100 bips off of the Fed funds rate. You're probably going to get another 25 to 50 if the Fed actually does what they say they're going to do. Okay? Why does anybody think that earnings are going down? It doesn't make sense. Oil's not at 100 a barrel. Inflation's coming down. It doesn't make sense why people think that somehow earnings are just going to retrace. It's not happening.
Well, I mean, you probably didn't see the banks this morning because you were busy, but the banks crushed earnings.
I did. So I haven't looked at anything really this morning. I was in meetings all morning. But when I was in the elevator going up to my office, we have those EV things in there, and one of the headlines was Goldman's crushed, like 104% year over year or something like that.
Yeah, they grew EPS by 60%.
Nice.
I mean, dude, sorry, not 40%, but to beat EPS by 40% as a bank when most of your earnings are predictable is not easy.
They're not really a bank. Come on.
I know, I get it. But what I'm saying is these financial institutions, the analysts tend to know their earnings before. For them to surprise like that is...
Once again, tell me what the bear case is.
I feel you.
I heard somebody talking. All I do is listen to CNBC or podcasts when I'm driving. Somebody was talking about how 5% rates looks interesting for cash. No, it doesn't. I don't know who these people are, but 5% rates do not. Does anybody who is in 5% T-bills, CDs, or anything over the past 2 years got crushed by the market? Why does anybody think this is going to be different?
So you would not put money in a money market fund right now, personally?
Listen, I have money in a money market fund, but it's money that I keep outside of the market on purpose, right? So there are definitely applicable reasons why you do that. But as an investment, like, you're going to get left behind most likely, because the bottom line is, unless the Mag 7 come in with underwhelming earnings, we're going higher.
Yeah, and Q4 tends to be one of the best quarters for the Mag 7, so I don't...
Yeah, it's the holiday season. And you also had the presidential election with a ridiculous amount of money spent on advertising. So Meta and Alphabet are probably going to crush.
What do you think about the SEC suing Elon as of yesterday?
I think that goes away in a week.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, does anybody think that that's not a joke at this point?
Dude, it's kind of sad 5 days before they know it's going away. It's kind of like a game. They want to show people that they hate him when they know there's no way Trump's going to allow that under his SEC.
It's like, look at Nina Khan's exit interview on CNBC. Like, I've been saying for the longest time that I didn't understand that pick for SEC chair. Look, she's obviously highly intelligent. And I'm sure
Is she highly intelligent? That's a hell of a compliment to give to someone.
Come on.
Dude, graduating from Yale does not make you highly intelligent. Don't give me that.
You can tell by the way she speaks.
Oh, don't get it. So she's articulate, so she's intelligent. I don't know if we're going.
She's highly intelligent, but you can have a difference of opinion with somebody that's highly intelligent. And I think that she looks at things much differently than a lot of people. And I disagree with the way she looks at companies. Look, if you actually sit down and read her Amazon paradox that she wrote in the Yale Law Journal, like 90 pages or so. I actually read it. And it's crazy. Like, Amazon's not a monopoly, and monopolies do not benefit the consumers. Amazon benefits the consumer every day by driving prices down and getting products.
So that's my point, Steve. If you are highly intelligent, you don't assume Amazon is the most evil company in the world. Like that's what I get it.
People can be highly intelligent but have a different view on things.
Well, look, I feel your point, but it is kind of crazy that was the administration.
Some people think that Jerome Powell's not highly intelligent. I would say he is highly intelligent.
Oh, Jay Powell's. I think Jay Powell's going to be one of the best Fed chairs of all time if he pulls this off. I think he will. He was given $8 trillion of money that was printed, and he had to deal with this.
There's nothing to pull up. It's getting no landing. No soft landing, no hard landing. It's just going to be a no landing. It's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
But no, good news is good news. And I think that this is what we needed going into the earnings season, where, look, big tech is going to carry it higher. And I think that this is going to be rising tide lifts all ships. And I think you're going to see a lot of stuff happen with old world conglomerates. Like, I think Pepsi's too low. I think Coke's too low. 3M's actually doing pretty good. But there's a lot of companies I think are going to do very well in 2025.
Palantir's at 68.50. I mean, if the macro keeps up like this and they have good earnings, I don't know if Palantir has to get hit as much as people are thinking as well.
Did you see the confirmation yesterday? The hearings at all?
The confirmation. Oh yeah, with Pete Hegseth. Yeah, I saw that.
He was talking a lot about innovation. I'll tell you, if he gets confirmed, that's very good for Palantir.
You are correct. I mean, we have that clip. Let's play it right now. It's a 1 minute 37.
You perfect. You played that while I get into the elevator because I was waiting to get to an elevator. So you played that.
Oh, you're nice, dude. You were waiting just for us to. That's awesome. I love you, Steve. All right, let me play this clip, guys. This is the new Secretary of Defense potentially on technology in the military.
How do you change the culture? It's not just the Production Act that's going to be able to do it. How are you going to move forward faster?
Competition, Senator, is important, critically important. The Death Valley that was talked about, leveraging the innovation of Silicon Valley, which for the first time in generations has shown a willingness, desire, and capability to bring its best technologies to bear at the Pentagon, a Pentagon that has become too insular, tries to block new technologies from coming in. So we have to embrace that, there's some great Office of Strategic Capital, DIU initiatives that provide loans to companies to participate, because you have to invest in the defense industrial base for the longer term projects. We have the capability, the missiles and the munitions, but also to rapidly field emerging technologies that we need on the battlefield right now. So as we learn things, say in the war in Ukraine, those technologies, as we look at threats we're going to face, find ways to rapidly field those using off-the-shelf technologies or standard designs, modular designs. Another easy one, Senator, that became evident in the process is digital designs. The Pentagon often builds entire systems without first using a digital design, which means you build prototypes and then scrap them and start over again. No private sector business could survive doing business that way. So there's a lot of innovation, and I'm going to hire a lot of smart people already have to help with that.
That screams Palantir to me. Steve, you there? That absolutely, we just listened to it. It screams Palantir to me. Palantir and Anduril is really what it screams.
I mean, that's what I think.
Look, I don't know enough about the guy. I can't give an opinion on him. I really haven't looked into it, but that clip is what I saw yesterday as well. It sounds like he wants to invest in innovation. And
yeah,
I know he has a lot of personal things, but yeah, and I know there's a lot of personal stuff. Go ahead.
This is a guy that served, and this is a guy who's somebody I respects a lot. And listen, you can like him, you don't have to like him. I happen to respect Tim Kennedy a lot. Tim Kennedy praises this guy same way he praises Colson. So I think we're going to be in good hands.
Yeah.
Do you know who Tim Kennedy is?
I don't.
Okay. You should look up who Tim Kennedy is right now.
I'm going to look him up right now. But I don't know enough. He's a politician.
He's not a politician.
No, this is a different one. He's an American soldier.
He's equivalent to Jocko. They're both Captain America.
He's an American soldier and retired MMA guy.
Yeah. Ex-Green Beret, ex-Delta, ex-Airborne Ranger. Guy is... You have somebody like that coming out and really praising this pick says a lot.
Yeah. And again, I don't know a lot about Pete Hegseth. I know there's tons of controversies with him, but from that clip alone, what I got is he's articulate, he can communicate, and he believes in actually innovating inside of the defense industrial complex and not just trying stuff without having any plan to scale it going forward.
I think we're going to be in good hands, and I think this is going to be very good for a lot of companies. I think Palantir is going to benefit. Whether the valuation makes sense, different story. But the market is very interesting right now, and I don't understand the bear case. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm overlooking things. I can't find the bear case right now.
Well, let me throw a stat. Let me throw a stat at you that's probably going to knock your socks off. By the way, guys, S&P at 178. All the quantum names are up 27%. You know why?
I'm waiting. Why?
Jensen Huang and NVIDIA are having a Quantum Developers Day on March 20th.
Yeah, to come out and say that we're making quantum chips now. Have fun.
No. But all four executives from the companies that QBT, Rigetti, et cetera, they're all going to be there with him on a panel.
Sure.
Like, that's pretty bullish. I'm not saying these stocks are great stocks on multiples, but that, I mean, like, You go from 20 years away to saying, hey, let's do a panel together.
Yeah, people have panels all the time. Nobody cares about when, any of these other companies go to a panel hosted by Goldman or anything. I mean,
yeah, because it's Goldman. This is Jensen. There's a difference.
Oh, I forgot. He's a rock star.
He is a rock star. I mean, come on now. I'm just saying that the fact that we're at that point of the market means we're definitely going a bit more risk on if the quantum names are up 30%, even if it's off that headline. So I agree with you. I'm struggling to see the bear case as well.
Yeah. Wow. The Nasdaq's up 430. Wow.
The Nasdaq is up at 430.
This is the first time I'm looking. This is crazy.
It's not too bad. Not too bad.
So what was the stat that's going to knock my socks off?
Oh, it was the quantum thing. That was the thing.
Well, that's not a stat. That's a event that's going to happen.
Yeah, maybe I misspoke. I meant to say like they're all up 30 to 40% today off of, I think, the Jensen headline, which is pretty incredible. Look, here's the stat that I think actually everyone needs to pay attention to. The Mag 7, and you've been saying this for a while, are 40% of the S&P 500. It looks like they're going to continue being that concentrated because I still don't get who's going to sell off Amazon for small caps.
You sound like me.
Well, I mean, you and me talked about that a lot at the end of the year, right? Which is just that it's hard to imagine.
I never understood it. I never saw it. Doesn't make sense to me. And the idea that people are going to sell Amazon, they're going into something that they know nothing about, is crazy to me. Like, who gets rid of these companies?
I don't know, dude. I mean, I don't get it. Unless they get egregiously overvalued, which is like the market's not going to give Amazon a 270 price unless they justify it with earnings, right? So if it gets to 270, it'll get there not because of hype. It'll get there because operating margins go up. Tesla's at 417. You could argue maybe that's a little bit of hype, but they're going to show some strong momentum, hopefully either on Robotaxi, Cybercab, or Optimus in their earnings. So
I'm going to give you an idea.
Okay.
Maybe we're not paying enough. And I know that that's crazy, but think about it like this. If you have a product and services that cannot be replicated by anybody except for 3 companies, maybe you get a little bit of a bigger valuation. Because at the end of the day, nobody can build what Microsoft and Amazon and Alphabet have built. Nobody. These businesses are here to stay. You can't build them. And data centers are the future. Nobody has better than data center services. Maybe people need to realize that these companies are the future, and the only competition is themselves at this point.
And they have the money to buy the dip on their own stocks.
Yeah. And I've been saying this for a long time. Long rates don't matter for these companies. They don't borrow. They're net positive cash. I mean, it's crazy talk. Not to mention the amount of free cash flow they generate funds everything they want to do.
Yeah. All right, Steve. Thanks for joining. I'll talk to you later. Do you have your breakfast already? Or you're about to go get it?
I'm having it right now.
All right. Enjoy your breakfast. Enjoy the green. And I'll talk to you later.
All right. Oh, by the way, Saturday night, get ready.
Okay.
I'm going to be fresh off the convention. Get ready.
Guys, Steve wants to do a podcast on Pokemon on Saturday, so we'll probably...
No. We're going to launch alternative asset investing.
Dude, Steve's like, we got to start this podcast. About what? About alternative assets. So about Pokemon? Yes.
Sports cards. I already started doing a bunch of data for you. I mean, there are some really interesting plays right now. I'm going to see if I can pick up some raw stuff at the convention. I have my Jula Loop ready to go. 30 and 60 times 90.
So this is going to be a new channel. So send me the link to the channel. I'll put the link in the chat. And then if people want to show up on Saturday, then we'll do it on Saturday. Also, can we tell everybody what you bought yesterday?
No.
Why?
No.
Why? What's the point of buying it if you don't tell people?
Going in my freaking storage unit.
All right. It's not a stock, guys. It's something else that he bought. All right. Well, maybe they'll see it on one of the episodes.
No. I'm probably never going to wear it, by the way. So,
I feel like you might as well tell people at that point. But
no.
Let's just say it's an alternative asset, guys. It's an alternative asset. All right, Steve.
It doesn't matter. All right, later.
Later. All right, folks. So now it is 10:30. Robinhood at 45.80. Absolutely incredible. We have a little bit of a special segment on this show. I told you guys in the morning that we're going to have the founders of a new company, new startup called Boundless Discovery on the show today. They just signed a multi-year partnership with none other than Palantir. And I think this is a really interesting thing because we haven't seen some of the smaller startups of the world sign partnerships with Palantir. And in order for Palantir to become what we all think it can become one day, we're going to need them to scale to a lot of these smaller businesses. So having said that, ladies and gentlemen, introducing Will and Peter, the founders of Boundless Discovery. What's up, guys?
Hello, hello.
Good morning.
You guys are live on the show. How are you guys doing?
Really good, really good. Excited about the next step of our company and working with Palantir for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So this is Boundless Discovery. I'll give you guys the floor and then we'll get into the Palantir partnership. What is Boundless Discovery and why did you guys create it?
Yeah, so Boundless Discovery, our mission is really quite simple. We want to help people navigate the information landscape. And really, Will and I met over a beer. We used to work together at a different AI startup. And we independently came to the conclusion that we were having trouble navigating the information on the internet, right? So us both being relatively technical, we were like, well, geez, I mean, there has to be a solution here. If I wanted to understand something, I would have to go and read 20, 30 articles. I'm incredibly dyslexic, and so that took an incredible amount of time. And then we started to kind of play around with Palantir, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really cool because you guys are basically targeting some of the problems when it comes to news and information. So I guess, how long have you guys been searching for a solution to more unbiased news on the internet? And why did you think Palantir was the thing that would help with that solution?
So I've been working on news data kind of on and off as a side project for, I don't know, probably about 8 years now, something like that. And it's this side project that I've kind of picked up, put down throughout my career. And I was always kind of trying to build a differentiated understanding of world events using computational methods, scraping the data, representing it in different ways, trying to see what I can learn by looking at it in this different way. And then, earlier in 2024, I picked up the project again. LLMs are a thing now. So I was like, okay, I'm going to kind of give this another shot. And started coming up with some fun stuff, some interesting stuff, started talking to Peter about it. And then it was an interaction that I had with none other than Chad Walquist on X.
Our boy, Chad.
Yeah. And, that's kind of where I got my introduction to the free tier of Palantir AIP. And once we started using that, it was like, oh, okay, like we can go so much faster with this. Anything that I want to build, we can start really going with it. My background is mostly in machine learning and AI, so I've never done like a lot of front end development and things like that. On Palantir, I was able to start throwing together user interfaces for interacting with all of the data that I was collecting and representing in the Palantir ontology. And it was like, man, it was a game changer. So we started doing that in like September, got my first AIP Palantir instance going. And then 3 weeks later, we launched our newsletter, which is, we're publishing these analyses. All these analyses are backed by our Palantir ontology. We have, dozens, if not hundreds of news articles that feed into kind of each one. And, this is just the beginning. As we say, the newsletter itself is actually just a wait list for what's coming next.
So is what's coming going to be a media company, like an actual website to get news?
In part, yes. We want to make news an interactive exploration where you can kind of ask the analysis questions,
right?
Where you can go in and kind of navigate through hundreds of different sources, kind of eliminate certain types of bias. I mean, the amount of opinion pollution in a typical article is pretty gross.
Right.
So, the ability to not necessarily read top to bottom one journalist's opinion, but instead to be able to go and interact with basically just the events that occurred and who is reported on that. As a media company, and we're going to keep our newsletter going. It's a really interesting use case to go in and break down geopolitical circumstances. But our long-term vision is actually to help out businesses in navigating complex situations themselves. Think about a merger or a partner that you're going to work with. For instance, we're now a partner with Palantir. I would love to do a complete ontology of Palantir where I can then share that internally so we can learn about our partner and how best to work with them, mitigate risks, things like that.
So, okay, so let me give you guys an example. Let's say this product is up and running in 2022 and Russia is invading Ukraine. You guys are going to try to get the facts of that situation and bring it to the public. So walk me through how you would use the ontology in Palantir as the backend to actually bring in some of that unbiased news to whoever uses Boundless.
Yeah, so I can talk about kind of the concept of a knowledge graph. You have one entity that is taking an action against another entity, or one entity that is related in some way to another entity. And you can kind of represent entities as ontology objects, and then you can represent the interactions as ontology objects. You can then have these links between them. And as we go out and collect all of this news information, strip away all the bullshit, all of the, opinionated wording and nonsense that Peter was alluding to a minute ago, get rid of all that stuff, and then ontologize the core of what is there. Who is being talked about? People, places, companies. What are they doing? Who are they doing it to? And then as we start to build up this map, this knowledge graph of the situation, you can go and start to explore that in ways that will give you information that is very hard to convey in just a linear top to bottom narrative.
Right.
The way that we like to say it is when you have this whole map in front of you, there's actually a whole bunch of different linear narratives that you can pull out of that map. So you can write almost a whole bunch of different news articles based on what's there. We only write one of them. We want to give you that map so that you can kind of go and tell your own story.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the map right now, and one of the examples you have, this is really cool. So the deeper we dig into it, the more we see different sources that give explanations for why this stuff is happening, essentially.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to say, this is a static image.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, for people who are familiar with Palantir, we build this using the Vertex application within Palantir and then export it as a static image. All of these nodes, all of these connections, our goal is to make it so that you can actually interact with them all.
Right.
You click on them, you can say, okay, well, what other entities are connected to this event? What other events or facts are connected to this entity? What are all of the different paths that you could take through the graph between these two entities? Highlight a selection of the graph and say, can you explain everything that's going on in here to me?
Right.
These sorts of the tools that we're looking to build and expose to people so that they can explore the ontology on their own.
That graph is already highly curated. So, there are thousands more events that we are omitting because it's quite literally impossible to put them all in there. And that's why the interactivity of the ability to go in, ask a question, filter by a topic that you're interested in. I'm interested actually in manufacturing in Russia because I have a manufacturing plant in Russia. And so therefore I want to know that particular relationship. The ability to filter down all of these events that we've processed will all be part of what we're building.
So here's a question from the chat. How would a consumer interact with it? Is it kind of like a GPT interface, or where is the LLMs getting involved here?
So we do not have an end consumer facing front for this yet. It is something that we have been building over the last couple of weeks that we'll start releasing to some beta users quite soon. I think for our next analysis, we're going to be releasing it to a couple of select users. But it's not just a chat interface. In fact, I think the chat interface is quite limited in a lot of ways because you can go into ChatGPT or Perplexity or something and you can ask a question and you can get an answer, but maybe the answer to that question actually gave you 3 more questions. So what are you going to do? You're going to go and open up another tab, start another Perplexity thread, and start going there. Well, what we would kind of like to do is give you both this graphical interface where you can represent nodes, you can add them, you can delete them, You can traverse them and ask questions about them at the same time. So instead of like a thread, it's more like a workspace. You're getting this whole workspace for research into this topic.
Did you guys explore other like back-end infrastructure applications to build this other than Palantir? And
I mean, we didn't start with Palantir, right?
Yeah.
We had this idea in advance. Chad reached out to us. We played around with it, and it expedited the process so considerably that it really was a no-brainer. I mean, what took us 3 weeks to build like this MVP would have taken us 6 months.
Wow.
I think, right? Will's our primary technical guy. I know a little something here or there, but let's consider myself a junior. The chance that Will and I would be able to pull this off without Palantir in a non-fund, like we're not funded, would be almost impossible. We would need to hire somebody to get it done. So for that reason, like Palantir was actually like, there weren't other options really. We can build it ourselves, of course, but it's the amount of development and expense would be insane.
And like Palantir, we value speed over almost anything else. If we can go fast, if we can get something into the market and we can get feedback on it as fast as possible, we would rather do that than build it properly with hosted on our own thing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, my audience obviously has been following Palantir for a while. And one of the things that we've been seeing from Palantir is that when they work with a client, even in a boot camp, it's all speed to value, time to value. And if they can get that time to value to be relatively quick in a matter of hours, they can, sign some pretty big contracts and Palantir can grow as a company. One of the things that I think a lot of people have been waiting for is Palantir to be able to give the tools to people like you guys that are not funded, but one day could have $1 billion company and to be able to build on top of them. And so do you kind of think that they are a foundational element of what could create the next generation of builders over the next decade?
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely think that, they're really early on in this journey of being able to provide their platform to people on the smaller end like we are.
Yeah.
But the desire for them to do this and to get it right and to really help us out is very evident. And I think that they will figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, oftentimes big enterprises neglect startups.
Correct.
Palantir did not do that at all. They were extremely supportive, very responsive. I mean, DMing back and forth, asking questions here and there. We found a number of kind of bugs here or there that they would address within like less than an hour.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's incredible. Normally you'd run into an issue, you kind of contact AWS, for instance. I mean, it's in the backlog for weeks. So
Chad's doing customer support on Twitter. So
100%. That's, part of what sold us, right? Is like, we really align on a mission, which is like speed to creating value for an end customer. They live it. Yeah.
I love it. This is awesome. This is super, super cool stuff. BoundlessDiscovery.com. I'm putting the Twitter in the chat for Boundless Discovery. It'll also be in the description, so you guys can follow them here on Twitter. And I guess this year, people should expect something coming out of you guys for Boundless.
100%. And we'll if you follow our newsletter, we'll shove everything that way. So it's probably the best place for you to keep a tab on us.
All right.
Yeah, like the newsletter is a wait list.
Yes.
Last quick question. Do you guys think that one day people will get tired of CNN and Fox and they're going to want things like Boundless? Do you think that maybe it's coming in 5-10 years, but do you think it's coming eventually?
That's what made us do it. It's extremely frustrating to read one article in one kind of area, let's say like a left media site, and then one in a right media site. They're kind of talking about the same thing, but they're using different facts, and there's tons of omission. By us going out and we're basically reading hundreds of different articles, what we end up doing is getting the entirety of the information space while kind of ignoring the opinions. That's the whole game. So yeah, we're extremely bullish that that's the way the world is going, and hopefully we can make it happen.
I love it. Will and Peter, the founders of Boundless Discovery, being built on Palantir. Thank you for you guys, and we'll have you on the show later when the product launches.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye. All right, there you go, guys. Brand new startup being built on Palantir. Very, very cool stuff, and we'll keep up with their progress over the next coming months. Hoodies at 46.17. What a freaking day for Hood. I mean, this is one of those days, guys. This is one of those days on Hoodie. This is one of those days. 46.10 on Hood, not stopping. 46.18, busting through at that level. I mean, let's check resistance for 47. 47 resistance is 8,494 shares. Doesn't really feel like it's that hard to get there. I don't know if the volume's going to be there to get there, but it's one of those days. It's one of those days. I'm Beneficial. Congrats to Hood and all the Hood rats, all the hoodlums, all the hoodies. We've been following this name for a while. It's nice to see. And look, they deserve it, dude. They have the growth to justify it. This is not hype. They absolutely deserve this. They're going to crush Q4. The market knows they're going to crush Q4. So they're giving them some love. Now, look, do we hold 46? Do we hold 45? Do we go back to 43, 44? Anything's possible. But the fact that we're able to get into this price discovery range in the high 46s, or at least in the beginning of the 46s, is very nice. Very, very nice. Shout out to Jordan from Sean. Jordan introduced Sean to my channel. So shout out to you, Jordan. Sean, thank you for being here. Jordan, thank you for introducing Sean to the channel. Appreciate both you guys. Thank you guys for being here. The TikTok news is out. I think we have the headline, and I believe TikTok, the Supreme Court officially said we are banning them. Let me pull it up right here. I think we have it. Pretty sure the headline is out, and they should be banned. Let's see right here. One sec. TikTok, Supreme Court. Yeah, so, well, hold on. No, it's still not decided yet. No, we still don't have an answer yet. We still don't have it. We don't have an answer, guys. We don't have an answer. It is not out at all. Well, so the headline is TikTok plans immediate U.S. shutdown on Sunday if Supreme Court doesn't halt federal ban. Users to receive data, download option, and ban information pop up. So if you're using TikTok and in the next, hopefully soon, 20 minutes, the Supreme Court says we're not extending their order, then they will give you a notification on TikTok saying, get ready because it'll be banned on Sunday. That is the headline, but there is not a decision yet by the Supreme Court. There is not a decision yet by the Supreme Court. The 10-year, wow, 4.65. Oh my. Oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my. That 10-year is falling. That 10-year is falling pretty aggressively. That is a 10-year that's coming down. That's good. This is what we need to see. Grabs up a little bit right here for up 4.2%. Tesla's still at 415. Reddit 177 up 8%. Not bad at all for Reddit. Doing great. Palantir at 68. Hood 46. And the broader market going up. S&P 500 591. Currently right here. Dude, it's one of those days. It's one of those days. Do any of you guys use TikTok? Would you be sad if it get banned? Like, do any of you guys have a small business where you market on TikTok or anything like that? Because that's the only people I feel bad for. The people I feel bad for are the people that have literally built their businesses on TikTok and are making a ton of money just by selling product on the app. Because, I mean, look, it's a small business. You never want to see a small business lose their biggest source of marketing. But nonetheless, when it comes to a security perspective, I feel like the job has to be done here. And it's really sad. People are downloading this crazy Red Note app to replace TikTok, dude. It's weird, bro. Like, it's like people want the Chinese influence in our lives. It's like, well, you could use Instagram or YouTube. It's like, nope, we want the Chinese app. So very, very weird, but does look like this thing is getting banned. Let's see if things are still going red or everything's still green. Everything's still pretty green to me. Cheesecake and Neo are red. That was red in the morning. Applied Digital was red in the morning. Verizon and TMDX are red. Texas Roadhouse is still red. Shake Shack red. United Healthcare red. Everything's still red. Pfizer's red. Yeah, I mean, sorry, everything's still green. Pretty much everything. Everything besides like these 7 names. United Airlines a little red. Is still pretty damn green. Even if it's not as green as it was before, it's still pretty freaking green. All the cryptos are green. Bitcoin got rejected at 99.8, but still at 99.3. We're pretty green, bro. Amit, where's my dippy dip? It's not here yet, dude. I would be very happy if the dippy dip was like 3 days ago, and that's it. But I don't know. Well, this was all the volatility we were preparing for, right? Everyone was like, yeah, we're not going to buy or sell until CPI. Like a lot of the sort of mainstream narrative was let's wait for CPI and then we'll get excited. If you took a risk before CPI, you've done very well because CPI was good. And now if you're waiting for CPI, maybe you're like, all right, things are good to go. There's no more red lights. And now I can start buying, which is probably some of the fund inflows that we're seeing currently right now. Stop saying cheesecake, I'm fasting. Dude, guys, I've been eating good. I've been eating good this year. I've been eating good. So I'm not going to Cheesecake Factory anytime soon either. But that's the only one that's red right here. VIX 16.5. Yeah, dude. I mean, VIX is like, this is it. We're past the 1030 slam too. We did that whole Palantir interview through 1030, and I didn't even really see any 1030 slam, but if there is a 1030 slam, it was not today. It really didn't. Robin is trying to go back to 46, 45.97. And this makes sense. If the 10-year comes down, NVIDIA's up 2%. Look at that. AMD's up 2% as well. If NVIDIA comes down, or if the 10-year comes down, the stock market should benefit. Like that's just kind of the nature of how it works. And bond yields are coming down, it looks like, for a good reason. It's not too bad. This is not too bad at all. President-elect Donald Trump's nominee to be head of the U.S. Department of Transportation just said electric vehicles should pay fees to use roads. Okay, that's stupid. That's dumb. That's not a good idea. There's a bunch of bullish things from Trump, but then his stance on EVs have always been a little off. Now, again, he's appealing to his base. I get taking away the tax credit, but paying a fee to use the road is kind of weird, in my opinion. We'll see. We'll see how this ends up playing out. But overall, the market likes it. The market likes it. All right, let's get some coverage, and then we'll get some other headlines that we've got going on.
The declining stocks. Remember on Friday, we were all freaked out. More inflation's going to come, and the markets was all bared up on this. We've been sideways for a couple of months. And then, boom, we get 2 good inflation reports, and things have turned around. Now, here's the problem, in my opinion here. The market has gone back because it believes more rate cuts may be coming to what it knows best. This is recency bias. So let's buy growth stocks. Let's buy tech. Now, banks leading because we had great reports from the banks today. That's kind of obvious. But consumer discretionary, again, this is largely tech, not consumer discretionary, but semiconductors are leading. Communication services are leading. Tech is leading. Kathy Wood's ARC is leading. Speculative tech is leading. And if you look down, consumer staples, modestly up. Healthcare, modestly up. More defensive stuff is lagging here. So the market's gone back to its growth bias here. Earnings season is upon us, and you've heard a lot about banks today. I just want to show you some of the tailwinds, and they're good. We are at another year of double-digit earnings gains expected in the S&P 500. Profit margins around 12%. Those are near record highs. That is a key reason the market's held up. And we're getting hopes for broader earning contributions from stuff outside of the Magnificent Seven here. The headwinds that you're dealing with is the valuation levels we've talked about, 21, 22 times forward earnings, higher for longer interest rate environment. And of course, we've talked about all this fiscal and monetary uncertainty. I want to show you why I'm optimistic on the broadening out story. Look at the earnings growth expectations for some of the bigger sectors for 2025. Healthcare is leading. Healthcare over technology. These are earnings growth, not price estimations. Healthcare, technology is there, but so are industrials, almost 20%. Materials are almost 18%. Communication services, 15%. Discretionary, 11%. These are all double-digit gains in some sectors, like materials, that are completely unloved, and industrials that didn't do particularly great last year. They did all right, but not particularly great. So this is part of the broadening out story. If you look at the Mag 7 story, here's a key understanding of this. We are still seeing notable earnings growth in companies in the Mag 7 here, but it's decelerating, and that's a key story here. So in 2025, the Mag 7 is going to see earnings growth of about 19%. In 2024, it had 33% earnings growth. That's still good, but it's decelerating. Now let's look at the other 493 stocks in the S&P 500. It's the opposite here. We're seeing a ramp up. So 2025, the other 493, we're expecting earnings growth of 13%. And in 2024, we only had 5%. You see, it's sort of the opposite. Now, it's not as aggressive as we're seeing in the tech, and that may be a large issue for people going forward here. What's happening is some people are trying to buy into this thesis. So the equal weight S&P 500 is actually outperforming the S&P this month and in the last 6 months. So about 2% growth in the RSP this month, maybe 1% in the S&P 500. There you see, there's the year to date on the RSP versus the S&P 500. So people are trying to buy into this thesis. I think the problem here is that on a fundamental basis, this broadening out idea makes complete sense. You want to buy into something. Earnings are growing but decelerating in the Mag 7, and earnings is growing in the rest of the market. So on a fundamental basis, it makes sense. The problem is we know from behavioral finance, Sarah, that people have recency bias. They stick with what they've been doing.
He's right. He's right. So Mag 7 earnings is increasing but deaccelerating on a year-over-year basis, which is fair because they have tougher comps, essentially, is his point. But small caps are just going up in terms of their earnings. The problem is, again, as Steve said, who wants to sell their Amazon, Google, Meta, Nvidia, Tesla for mid caps or small caps?
Going to be very difficult to get them off of big cap tech. Look what happened to Cathie Wood's ARK. People stayed with that fund for a very long time, long after prices started dropping, and only much later did they start lightening up and essentially moving out of those funds because of recency bias. And fear of a loss is greater than expectations of a gain. We know all these behavioral economics ideas. So this makes sense to me. I'm a big favor of this rotation theory. I just wonder when you get days like today, you see people aren't following this idea. They're going straight back into the growth story.
Yeah, Tesla's leading the market. I mean, up 5%, consumer discretionary, best sector.
What we know.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay,
Bob
pleasure.
Assani breaking down the rally, and stocks are rallying on the back of this latest inflation print. The bank numbers also coming in strong. But when it comes to inflation, not entirely clear cut for investors as to what it means for the Fed. Steve Leisman here with more. Steve, does this change anything?
Not immediately. And Sarah, I like the way you led into that, saying it's not entirely clear cut for investors. And so it's also not going to be clear cut for the Fed either. Even though the numbers, as you reported, better than expected, it's not a green light for the Fed to cut rates, at least not anytime soon. Let's go through the numbers. 0.4 is what we got.
We'll go back to that in a second. But yeah, the overall thesis here is that markets are not necessarily scared of buying into the strength if they think CPI is coming down. Robinhood right here, just below 46. But we cracked 46, which means if the volume continues, we should have a chance to get right back up to 46, given we cracked 45 and 46 today. I mean, if we close at even above 44.50, dude, I'd be happy. So 45.76 is absolutely incredible. This is one of those days. One of those days. One of those days. Fernando says, is it possible we see outflow of S&P 500 into small caps based on the more advantaged CPI data? Look, I definitely think that's the mainstream narrative, but I don't know, dude. It's going to be, again, it depends how many people feel that it's easy to sell off their winners for taking a risk on something new. It's just tough. It's really tough to stomach that, even if that might be the right decision in the short term. But again, is that the right decision? As Steve said, no one can replicate Nvidia. No one can replicate Apple. No one can replicate Amazon. They have all the money in the world to buy back their stock. So what is the bull case for IW? I mean, look, my theory has been that a lot of these analysts just need to sell research. And the only way to sell research is to have a new idea. And if your new idea is small caps, then you know, they have to say, well, trim this, take profits on this, and go here. But if that's not happening, or if you can't, if you can't justify it from an earnings perspective, why to do that, then it's not the best research to sell, in my opinion. 224 on IWM. Yes, we are still live, Mr. Evan. Evan, you got to call in, bro. I got to give you a StreamYard link, and you got to hop in. You got to get some of your thoughts on this market. Dude, Evan, January 29th is going to be a crazy day for both of us. It's going to be a wild, wild day when it comes to streaming the market. I mean, we have Facebook, Tesla, Microsoft, JPow. It's going to be insane. The New York Fed is speaking. Is he speak? Are we having a speech right now in the Fed? Let me see. I don't think we're having a Fed speech right now. Let me see. No, we don't have any Fed speak right now. Not literally right now. Williams is? Let me see. One sec. Let me see. Let's see if we can get that. John Williams speaking. I don't know if they're streaming it though. John Williams, Fed president. No, I don't think it's streamed, guys. I don't think it's streamed. Some of these aren't streamed. Some of these are just on their website. John Williams, Fed president. Yeah, it's not live. Well, let me see this. Nope, it's not live. It might be streaming on their website, but it takes a while for that to show up. If anyone has the link, let me know, but I don't see that right now. Tesla 413. So we're seeing a little bit of a red candle across the board, but it's not lasting for long. I mean, even Hood from 46.22 back down to like 45.70, now back at 45.90. Like any of these little small dips are getting eaten up as either algos come in or dip buyers come in. Even Nvidia, great day for Nvidia, 2.6%. Amazing day for Nvidia. Let's check on Quantum and the spec names. Wow. Quantum 39, Rigetti 16, IONQ 26, D-Wave 20%. SoundHound 9%, Archer 8%, MicroStrategy 5%. All of these guys getting some love right here. It's a green day, bro. A green day. Do you think it's smart to take profits? Well, let's look at the poll. The poll is 83% saying they're still not taking profits. I don't know. I think it's smart to take profits if you want to hedge against volatility. Some people sell calls to hedge against volatility. Some people buy puts. I think it's not crazy to take profits to hedge against volatility because as green as today may be, there's a lot of unknowns coming up with Trump and the new administration. But if you had a gun to my head and say, take profits right now, yes or no, I would say no, because there's too many catalysts with a 10-year that's on the way down and inflation that looks like it's stabilizing and earnings growth from the banks that was incredible, much less the tech companies that are probably going to be really good, to say this is the time to get out of the market. But if you're overweight something and you want to, take a little bit off the table, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. No news for TikTok yet. No news for TikTok yet. At least I don't see any news for TikTok yet. Let me make sure. It should be soon, though, dude. We should get the Supreme Court thing soon. No, nothing yet. It might not happen today, guys. It might happen tomorrow. Sometimes with these rulings, they take a time. They take a little bit more time than expected. So maybe we don't get it today, but I feel like we should. This is a good week to test out YouTube Shorts. My philosophy has never been positive on YouTube Shorts. I think it's YouTube Shorts. Again, I talked about this a while ago, but YouTube Shorts, you're aiming for a different algorithm. I don't think finance is the place for YouTube Shorts. I mean, how many of you guys actually get your finance news through YouTube Shorts? I would say like maybe less than 1% of you actually like scroll through YouTube Shorts hoping to get some updates on what's going on in finance. Maybe you get some old Warren Buffett clips or something like that. But I think finance is a niche on YouTube that is consumed in long form. You know, that is what, A, because most of you guys are older, you have an attention span that's greater than like a 14-year-old. And B, finance is nuanced to break down. How do you condense that into 60 seconds? Otherwise, you end up getting like TikTok finance. And TikTok finance is not fun to watch because they try to say like how you can get a discount on your mortgage or something in 30 seconds. And it's like, what is this? What did I just watch? What is this? So yeah, I feel like a lot of finance shorts are scammy or awful. Like it's either old Warren Buffett clips that you randomly come upon, or it's like some random guy saying you could make $10,000 a month by selling ATMs or by getting into a vending machine business. You know, it's just like it's all like weird. Actual finance news, I think, takes time to digest. So I've never been a fan of it. Also on the algorithm on YouTube, it's like, you know, you're either in the shorts algorithm or you're in the long form algorithm, and I'd much rather be in the long form algorithm because the shorts algorithm is not that fun to try to chase. It's a rat race, in my opinion, because you're just trying to capture people's attention and have a jump cut every 3 seconds. It's ironic I'm saying this because my attention span is so bad, but my attention span is good when it comes to doing these streams every day. Like I don't lose attention at all. I'm locked in. But then if you ask me to watch a movie, I'm like, all right, I'm bored. Maybe it's because the markets are just more exciting to me. So I'm able to like hold on and keep listening and keep watching. But otherwise it's tough. Tesla right there, 414, up 4.5%. Not bad. Is anyone buying anything today? Mitt's attention is so bad. He'll be talking and then shouting Tesla 414. That's true. I do shout out prices in the middle of my sentence, but I'm able to connect back to the point I was making in the sentence, even if I'm shouting the prices. Look, I don't know if Meta and Google, I know some of you guys are asking, is Meta a buy today? Is Google a buy? If you like, they've run a decent amount from last week. So it really depends on, not Google, Meta more than Google, but it depends on if this TikTok thing goes their way. Long term, I think Meta and Google are obviously buys, but maybe, you know, you don't buy on a super green day like today. Hood at 45.71. You guys bought some Grab. I think my orders for Grab yesterday went through. I put in some orders for some spreads, and I think like 50 of them went through. So I didn't buy any stock, but I did put in some orders. I put in an order today for 10 more, and that one did not go through. But that's pretty much all I bought. I asked my 14-year-old boy and girl twins where they and their friends will probably go if TikTok is banned. They both said Instagram Reels real quick. Yeah, dude, that's happening. Dude, I keep saying this over and over again, but when I was an idiot, is that a Freudian slip? When I was in India and TikTok was banned, I went to Instagram. It was that simple. I just went to Instagram. And it wasn't that different. I mean, it was a little different, but at the end of the day, you settle for what you have, right? And so you went to Instagram. Kenneth, we talked about Palantir about 30 minutes ago. We had a startup that actually had a new deal with Palantir today. So if you scroll back like 20, 30 minutes, you'll see that interview. It was about 15 minutes. And so we talked about their new partnership with Palantir. Again, Palantir hasn't had any crazy new PRs this year, 15 days. So there hasn't been that many new updates to cover for Palantir. But I think they're gearing up for earnings and for Karp's book launch, which will be happening soon. XRP's at $3. Are we there? That's incredible for XRP. I mean, that is a big, big move. Yeah, 297 on XRP. Not bad. Not bad at all. Today might also not be a horrible day to close out some puts. If you have some puts that you sold even a couple days ago, you're up 50, 60%. Not a horrible day to just close them out and rinse and repeat with getting the collateral back. Bitcoin 99.4. Trying to make its way back to 100. Palantir 67. Meta 614. IWM 224. Hood 45.71. I keep getting Red Note memes. Yeah, dude, I'm not downloading that app. Red Note. It's ridiculous, dude. It sounds weird, Red Note. Even the name of it, dude. Like, at least TikTok's kind of sounded fun. Red Note? What is that, dude? It's just so weird. All right, let's get another update from CNBC, and then we'll keep going.
York Fed. President John Williams speaking to business leaders in Connecticut. CNBC senior economics reporter Steve Leisman with the headlines. Hi, Steve.
Sarah, thanks. Yeah, New York President John Williams saying the path for policy will be dependent on the data, but the outlook is highly uncertain, especially for fiscal, trade, immigration, and regulatory policy. Now, he makes some positive comments on inflation, saying it's gone from unacceptably high to, quote, within striking distance of the Fed's 2% target. He expects the disinflation process to continue going downward, though the process, he says, may be choppy. Disinflation, he says, has been broad-based and lists a number of reasons why he thinks that's true. But he says we're still not at the 2% goal. It will take some time to get there. Growth in labor force and in productivity means the economy can expand at a faster pace. The labor market, he says, will not be a source of inflationary pressures. The economy, however, is still in a very good place and has returned into balance. Real quickly, guys, Barkin talking in the last hour before Williams, saying he doesn't see anything in this rise in long-term rates we've had that will influence Fed policy at this point. Sarah?
It feels like they don't know as much as the market doesn't know. We have to see what the Trump policies are and what the impact is on the economy.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, Sarah, because to me, reading Williams' remarks and knowing from the interview I did with him at the end of December that he doesn't think the neutral rate is much higher than it was before, and seeing that inflation is coming down, he would normally be a guy that you would think would say, okay, we can lower rates further. But you'll notice there's no real monetary policy forecast in there. He doesn't make it. He doesn't say it. And I think you put your finger on the reason. It's because of the uncertainty surrounding the fiscal side of things and tariffs and those sorts of things. Otherwise, I think the Fed, if it was gained confidence, say in the next several months over inflation coming down, it could be back on the cutting track here. But because of that fiscal uncertainty, I think the Fed may be on hold a little bit longer till it's clear which way these things break.
Walking into a dark room full of furniture, Steve. We'll see
exactly
what happens in the weeks to come. Steve Leisman.
Thanks.
Stocks, as we said, in rally mode this morning. Let's bring in our senior markets commentator, Mike Santoli, back after a couple of days.
Yes.
You were missed. Although I'm glad we had you back for this one.
And a stutter step for the markets. I mean, I know there's been more churn, but it's interesting we have today, obviously, a release of a lot of the tension. If you look back for 6 weeks, we've been kind of struggling in the same zone. The average stock, 12% off its highs. And I think today's action suggests that the bond and currency markets had overshot, perhaps, in the near term, the economic fundamentals, or at least the inflation fundamentals. So I think a Fed pause, as you guys have been talking about, there's nothing inherently bearish about that. If it's just about, let's see how things shake out. If the long end, if long-term treasury yields don't completely take flight from here, I've been saying for 2 weeks, this is the area where you should have some buyers show up in treasuries. Didn't happen until really today, until you got that marginally lighter core CPI number, by the way. It's 0.23. The forecast was 0.3. That shows you we were really bracing for something potentially worse. Also, we tested the November 5th close on the S&P 500. That's about where we opened. And we're kind of now just in that zone of where we finished on November 6th, which is the day after the election.
Do you see the market bracing or trying to price in what we expect will be a wave of executive orders, let's say, next week?
I think it's more there's a hesitation that comes from that. So I don't think people are necessarily doing a lot of work handicapping the probabilities and saying this is what's different between now and 2017. 2017 it was we can make an educated assessment of what the drop in corporate tax rates and personal tax rates are going to be. We can put a multiple on that. We can capitalize it. We can figure out when the timing of it is. Now it's kind of a vague wave your hands toward deregulation and say that's pro-growth, that's positive. I think it's going to be hard to get investors off that idea. At the same time, you just don't know the cadence of everything else. What I do think the market is celebrating in part today is a possible transition from the macro to the micro for a little while as we get earnings season. And so what earnings season means, of course, is hopefully you get the pretty optimistic estimates validated or exceeded, but also it means company by company movement. It means a lot of back and forth within the index. It means correlations among stocks comes down. It means the VIX can come down. And therefore, it's a little bit of a more comfortable environment, I think, for a lot of investors who'd rather be focusing on companies.
But just on the macro, I think one other reason maybe for the celebration is it quiets chatter of hiking.
No doubt.
Not that the Fed was really talking about that, but we were starting to see it in the research notes. The probabilities were up a little bit in the bond market. And that is something perhaps that would be.
It was literally a headline in the Wall Street Journal today.
What if the Fed
right
raises
ahead?
rates? Yes,
but right ahead of
We
a
were talking
softer
about
CPI.
it weeks ago when
exactly.
the CPI prints were actually coming in firmer.
Without a doubt. I mean, the market never is comfortable saying, let's price in a hold indefinitely, right? They're always going to look for the next
move,
turn.
yes.
And so that's why I think that chatter absolutely had started, and today it can take a step back.
Right. All right. Thanks, Mike. Let's stay on the market following this morning's CPI data. Our next guest expecting volatility to be higher than last year, driven by more uncertainty around inflation and the Fed's rate cut path. Joining us now is UBS Global Wealth Management co-head of Global Asset Allocation, Mark Anderson. Welcome, Mark. Does today's inflation number give you some relief on that front?
I think it does. This was just a great report for everybody. It was great for the equity investors out there. It was great for the bond investors. We're both long U.S. equities. We have an increased duration position around the U.S. 5-year on Treasuries. So it was great really on all of those accounts. I think
everything that all these suits wanted to see, especially those at UBS and Deutsche Bank and all this stuff, they got to see it today. I mean, we're seeing it right now. We're giving back a little bit of the gains, but not really, dude. Like Hood's not at 46.20 anymore. It's at 45.83. Okay. IWM's at 223 instead of 226. I mean, like, we're really not giving up that much. SoFi's not at 15.50. It's at 15.11. SoFi giving up a little bit more, but still up 4%. Tesla from 418 to 415. I mean, most of these gains are holding on, and we are 2 hours into the market. So if we're getting a rug pull, it would have to happen towards the latter half of the day. And like, what's the catalyst for that rug pull? There's no PPI or CPI leak anymore. Like, what's the headline? Realistically, at 3 p.m., what's the headline that gets people to be like, all right, we're going to sell off our stocks? Unless it's some random algo thing. The Fed, Williams already spoke. He didn't say anything that's different. He said, we're going to be data dependent. Same thing the Fed always says. It'd have to be some profit taking. That's it. But if you want to take profits, I feel like you took some profits today. You know, it doesn't feel like at 3 p.m. everyone's going to take their profits. World War III would do it. That would definitely not be the best if we have World War III. TikTok news is not out. We do not have a decision. Maybe we don't get it today. It said we would get it today. Sometimes Supreme Court takes some longer time. Maybe that's not happening today. Why do you believe Blue Origin has anything to do with Rocket Lab? I kind of just think the whole space sector moves off of good headlines. We saw this when Rocket Lab went up when SpaceX got a $350 billion valuation. Rocket Lab was up 5% that day. Now, that has nothing to do with Rocket Lab, but the overall space industry compounding is definitely not horrible for that TAM increasing. So that's the only correlation I put between those two. It's on Reuters. All right, let me see if there's a TikTok headline. No, Reuters is saying TikTok's going to be banned on Sunday if they get banned by the Supreme Court. Yeah, so Reuters is saying TikTok is getting ready to shut down on Sunday if the Supreme Court says they have to divest. Now, one thing that's interesting, TikTok is reassuring its 7,000 U.S. employees that their jobs, pay, and benefits will be secure even if the Supreme Court bans them. That's kind of interesting. They're keeping their 7,000 U.S. employees, even with their biggest market being banned. I guess TikTok's growing that well that they don't need to fire 7,000 people or even any of those 7,000 people because they can still be used in other parts of the market. Or TikTok thinks it's going to be a temporary ban and they'll be back soon. So there's no reason to fire people because they'll find a way to get there. As someone who posts on X and Insta, I say ban them. Not biased. Yeah, it's gonna be weird, dude. It's gonna be weird. I mean, not firing any of those people. I'm happy those people get to keep their jobs, but that means TikTok feels they're strong enough to withstand this. Robin at 45.88. 45.88 right now. Microsoft's ripping. MSFT. Yeah, wow. Microsoft hasn't had a 3% day in a while. That's not bad. Googs is at 195. Palantir holding 2.4. Bitcoin 99. Amazon 221. All the Max 7 are up 2% on average. Even Apple had some bad headlines the past couple days, but that's up. It's a green day. It's a green day right now in the markets. We'll see how the market ends later today, but so far we are pretty green. NY Meetup is happening. You should be getting a Telegram link soon if you have not got it to join. I'm going to put it again in the chat for those that have not got the invite yet. And this Telegram group will have all the details. The only delay is if it really is that cold, which it might be. And then maybe we have to delay it because I don't want people to be freezing. But it says 50 degrees, so hopefully it's not that bad. And then if it's snowing, we'll definitely delay it. There's a 20% chance of snow. Yeah, I'm doing a meetup, Evan, this Saturday, 12 p.m. in New York. There's the link in the chat for those that want to join the group. All right, folks, let's get one of our favorite market open analysts onto the show and get his thoughts about what we're seeing. Kris, good morning.
Good morning, man. It is nice to see all the green finally in the portfolio after like a week of pain. But, this is why you just kind of have to create a thesis and, be okay with it. So,
what's your reaction to headline CPI?
To be honest, I actually thought it was going to be a little bit hot. I thought that some of the data points that I was seeing meant that there's some front loading that's happening with China that could end up showing up on maybe Q1. So it's something to keep in mind. Yeah, that's the only thing. It came in lower than what we expected, which was good. But what really was nice to see was the following. Let me just share my screen where the data actually came in. And let's do this. All right. So here are the CPI categories. So the biggest increases year over year have been motor vehicle insurance. And this is clearly like a lagging one. So we had this huge price appreciation in cars in 2021 and 2022 with all the stimulus coming in. And then we had supply shortages. So that just made a lot of car companies literally cars were selling way above MSRP. That's finally starting to kind of retreat a little bit. So if you're looking at the auto delinquency rates, those are starting to climb up. So there's more repossessions coming online. There's still a ton of cars from 2023 that are sitting in dealer lots to the point where, I don't know if you have seen, but Stellantis actually has almost like a 30% discount from MSRP right now.
Yeah.
It's crazy the amount of discounting that's happening. So car prices are likely to come down in 2025. And, that's been one of the major drivers. So if you look at new cars, new vehicles are actually down, which is nice to see.
Which is good because they've been up so much, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And the other one is, of course, housing. So one of the things that we're seeing housing, I think I put on like owner's equivalent rent. I think that's what we spoke about earlier this week. So You're starting to see owner's equivalent rent starting to soften. This is going to keep coming down over the next year as people renew their leases. If you look at certain areas within the country, like Arizona, Texas, Florida, Tennessee, you're starting to see negative rent growth there. So you're actually seeing discounting. So when you see discounting plus the rise in total inventory of homes, it's like a recipe for a nice disinflationary spiral next year, and those are two of probably the biggest components, and if you look at used cars, look at this, used cars is down 3% year over year.
That's impressive. That's really impressive.
Yeah. It's going to drag a lot of this stuff down. The recent move up in natural gas is because we've had like a cold weather, which is like, it's part of the cycle, but this year has been unusually colder than previous years. If we get some warm weather next year, nat gas is going to, be a little bit more stable. So, yeah.
So you're telling me inflation's coming down?
Yeah, man. 2025. I think right now this whole thing that people went to the conclusion that we're only going to get like one cut. I think that's wrong. I've been pretty like steady on that. I think we get 4 cuts. And if we end up getting 4 cuts, that's not being priced in. And right now everyone is like, "Oh, wait, maybe we are going to get 4 cuts." So we'll see what happens,
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty nice, dude. I mean, like the fact that core was actually down, even though the headline came in line with expectations. I think that's why we're seeing the drop in the 10-year, right? Because at least today, the market's believing, yeah, we shouldn't be as concerned as we were when the 10-year was at almost 4.8%.
Yeah. 4. I think my baseline right now is 4 cuts this year, and then another 4 cuts next year. So a total of 8 cuts, and then we get back to somewhat neutral. So, yeah.
Okay, so then when do you think the 4 cuts start?
January is definitely going to get skipped. I don't know. We'll see what happens, man. Remember, the Fed said that we're going to be data driven, right? So you got to let the data do its thing. You also have to remember the back half of this year, you're likely to see Trump really pushing hard to get these rates lower, right? Another thing that you really have to look into on it is read up on Scott Bessent. Dude is fucking smart, man. He is a killer when it comes to FX. He was one of the guys that worked with Soros during the whole the British pound thing. And one of the parts that I was listening to his thing, one of the thesis that he came up with that was really smart was in the UK, everyone has floating rate mortgages. So floating rate mortgages, like we have 30-year fixed, whatever. They have more like floating rate stuff. So what happened is as interest rates would rise, people's mortgages would rise. And as people's mortgages would rise, it would cause a public backlash against the Central Bank of England at the time, which was a very interesting thing that a lot of people didn't figure out from the angle side. And so, like I said, these guys, he's a market tactician. He knows how to play with currency and FX to basically get what he needs. So my thing is, if you're trying to lower the deficit, which there's his plan is something called the 3-3-3 plan. Do you hear about that?
Yeah.
Get GDP growth to 3%, get the deficit reduced to 3% of GDP, right? And I think 3% on the Fed funds rate, right? So I think it's easy enough to get there if we're able to do it. Yeah. Scott Bessent is bloody smart. Yeah, you like one of the things that we should do, honestly, one of these days is do a pod where we just listen to some of the people that Trump has put in charge. Because I think is once you listen to these people, you can kind of get an idea of how they're going to be crafting policy for the Trump admin. One of the things I really like about what's going to happen is this thing with Lena Khan with she's going to regulate big tech to death. I think taking that away is going to be really big because if you think about the US, we have had a stunning amount of growth, but a lot of that innovation has come from big tech spending a crap ton of money on innovative products, right? All that excess capital that Google generates goes into R&D. All that excess capital that goes into Meta, goes into Amazon. It doesn't just get recycled back to shareholders. It actually goes into developing new industries that then get codified into other industries. So you look at like Germany. Germany right now, do you know they're negative GDP?
Projected for the next 5 years too.
It's crazy to see that. Whereas American companies, they're always out innovating. Like you look at another one example is Elon, right? The guy made money on Tesla. He took that money. Another thing that he did was space. I mean, well, first it was PayPal, then SpaceX, then Tesla, and now they're going to do Neuralink and all this other stuff. So I think what it is back in the day, people looked at like the robber barons and said, look, the Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers of the world, all they do is they monopolize one industry and they basically like cast off everyone else. Whereas I think a lot of the big tech companies right now, yeah, they're getting big, but they're also reinvesting in developing the country in a way that like you're spending this R&D money that other countries can't even fathom. Like tell me one country that has the budget of Google's R&D.
Yeah.
Or Microsoft or Amazon. I mean, look how much money these guys spend.
Well, this is why this whole rotation nonsense that we're hearing from mainstream media of like sell Google it's like, I still don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not
I
saying
mean,
those can't have good returns, small caps and mid caps, but it's hard for someone who's been in Google for the past 2 years to be like, I need to trim Google and rotate.
one of the most interesting things that I've noticed is like you're seeing these companies that are outside the US adopting US business practices and actually leadership that was trained in the US, and they're doing phenomenal. Like you look at Nubank. Nubank was like, look, the people in Brazil are being shortchanged by not having innovative banking solutions that are at their fingertips. Why? Because a lot of the local people, like the local banks, they didn't want to adopt a lot of the technology. Whereas these guys came in and said, we're going to disrupt you, and they're absolutely killing it right now. Grab did the same thing in Southeast Asia. So I think that it is, people have to develop this risk-taking culture, and other countries, one, they don't have the capital to match it. So it's really hard to fight against the innovators that are willing to outspend you, right? But then also they're willing to take risks. So
so this was an interesting conversation Steve brought up when he was on the show. Do you think Lina Khan is a really, really intelligent person that had a different worldview? Or do you think her understanding of business is not as intelligent and she had more political motivations to attack these tech companies? How do you think of her tenure as chair of the FTC?
I mean, I think she's a smart person, but the thing is, like, a smart person going in the wrong direction could not really be the greatest. Also, I mean, ideologically, I think the best way I would phrase this is it depends on the perspective that you're looking at, right? If you think that big tech is basically just crowding out everyone else, then of course you're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to regulate these guys to death because I want like other companies, smaller companies, to be able to come up. I mean, that's what innovation really is, right? These small companies figuring out things that the big guys are not figuring out. And the big guys, instead of actually innovating, are just like, my main goal is to crush everyone.
Right.
That doesn't seem to be the case. The one thing I will give her is that by limiting M&A, you are somewhat limiting a lot of speculation also, which is a good thing, but it also kind of, I don't know, this is where big things come from big companies. And it's hard for me to see how small companies in today's world can compete unless they have some level of backing from like VCs and everything else, right? And a lot of these VC companies, they're all owned, they own significant positions in the big tech companies, which are also co-investing.
Yeah, they're depending on big tech. Like that's the ironic thing about Lina Khan. It's like she wants the small companies to win. The problem is their win is usually an exit, because I'm sorry, some small startups probably not going to beat Google's network effects. But if Google buys them, everyone gets rich. The founders, the VCs, the employees that spent years not taking a big tech salary but working at a startup. But if you eliminate that possibility, I guess you have to weigh that against Google's acquisition and how much more powerful Google gets, right?
Yeah. I mean, look at this development around quantum. All right. I'm just going to use quantum as an example. Google and IBM are the two companies that are really like one of the market leaders in quantum. They really invest a ton of their money because they know that this is not going to make money for the next 10 years, but they're like, no, we'll suffer the losses until this becomes a big thing. If Google hadn't invested in the transformer technology, we wouldn't have AI right now. We wouldn't be the dominant player in AI around the world, So I think Trump understands that. And he's basically told the big guys, like, listen, I'm not going to regulate you to death as long as you guys are willing to reinvest in America and make America the best country on the planet. Support.
Why
your
didn't the Biden administration do that? Why didn't they say, we're not going to regulate you guys, but as long as you keep reinvesting? Why wasn't that the tone?
Well, I mean, you have to take it piece by piece. Like, you find each one individually, like what it was. One of the things is, like, if you look at Google, Google actually got screwed over by the Trump admin because they were being biased against Trump in his first term. Remember that? Yeah. So basically, this is where kind of like government can really negatively influence these big guys into doing its bidding. That is a big problem, and that's something that I don't like. Where, like, right now, Zuck came out and said, look, the Biden administration was telling us we can allow this kind of content, we can't allow this kind of content. That's some fucking communist level shit, bro. Like dictatorship level stuff. You know, people can't talk freely on certain topics. Like, no, I don't agree with that.
So let me ask you this question, because the chat was definitely polarized on this topic, but I think it'll be an interesting topic. Billionaires are taking over the White House. That is undeniable. Elon literally getting an office space in the White House. They are taking over the White House. Is that a good thing to you? Do you think it's good to have these smart entrepreneurs influencing public policy, or would you rather have a balance of less of an oligarchy?
Okay. People who have made money figuring out how to solve problems versus vote for me because I'll give you free shit. Which one are you going to go with?
I agree. I know the headline's crazy. Oh, you think the billionaires care about you? But no, the billionaires care about their money. But I'm invested in their companies. So I care about what they care about. They care about me because I'm a shareholder, even if they know me or not. And so if they're influencing public policy,
it's in their best interest to keep the US at the top of the food chain. Like, just think about it. They don't want other countries to become the best. You know, these billionaires, if they ever want to become trillionaires, they got to get us all wealthy. You know, it's not like there's versus Elizabeth Warren, who's like, oh, tax the rich while I fly private. That's one of the things I hate about some of these liberal hypocrites. Bernie Sanders sitting on 3 houses while complaining about, oh, you know what? We have a housing crisis. Yeah, why don't you sell 2 of those houses, motherfucker? You can't rent. Oh, but what about my cabin on the weekends that I need? Bitch, you don't know about Airbnb? You can't get into Airbnb and go on a cabin trip? But no, you want us to live like paupers while you motherfuckers go out there and spend your money like there's no problem. Fuck that bullshit, you know? I trust Elon with my money way more than I trust fucking Warren, you know?
Dude, and I know this is polarizing. I know people are going to disagree, but if we're being logical here, why would you not want Elon Musk influencing Trump versus, what's that guy who was on his first term? I'm forgetting his name. He had the slick back hair. He was big on immigration. I'm forgetting his name, but the swamp. I mean, let's just call one of the guys from the swamp influencing Trump. Yeah. Right? Like
Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, right?
You want Steve Bannon having office space in the White House or Elon freaking Musk?
Yeah.
I feel like the answer is pretty obvious here.
Yeah,
I do.
So Kris and his Darth Vader art. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Speaking of what you're saying with, hold on, let me show this real quick, because this is what you mean with Bernie Sanders. This is the hypocrisy that you're talking about right here.
Do I own 3 residences? Yeah, I do. I live here in Burlington, Vermont. We live in a middle-class neighborhood. Nice house. Guess what? I'm a United States Senator, and I own a home in Washington, D.C., as do most senators. You know, you live there year after year. When I first when I was in Congress for 16 years, I rented all the time. But I got elected. Okay, got a 6-year term. You know what? Let's buy a house. So we bought a house. And guess what? Like many thousands of people in the state of Vermont, I have a summer camp. It's a nice one on Lake Champlain. That's it. Do I own 3 residences?
I mean, how many migrants is Pelosi taking in her fucking palace in San Francisco? Please tell me. You know, these people, they come out, they tug at people's heartstrings to get votes, and then they literally it's the stupidest thing versus some of these other guys. They're real business operators. Now, here's the thing. Would I like to see someone who's more of a small business operator in that role? Yeah, of course. You know, these are the kinds of people you want, people with experience in markets to be in power, to to basically put up ideas that actually will be productive for the country. You know,
honestly,
you don't want.
I think JD Vance is that guy, because JD Vance is not the biggest fan of big tech, right? So he's trying to keep an eye out for the smaller businesses, and that's not
you listen to someone like AOC, who's a bartender. What is her experience in building a business? Nothing. Yet, you know what? She gets an over amount of representation, because what does she do? She tugs on people's heartstrings. You know, she caters to basically people's hurt, and that's how it works, man.
I just hope people see the hypocrisy in Bernie Sanders having a summer home, which is one of the most luxurious things you can have as a human being. Forget in the United States, to have a second home to vacation in. Are you kidding me? But then say that we need to tax the rich, we need to do this, we need to do that, when this guy's not willing to give up that summer home and, you know, have someone else take that property so that we have less of a homeless crisis.
Yeah.
Like the other thing, see that hypocrisy, we're done for.
Yeah. I don't know. Any of these guys, you have to ask yourself, what have they built? Like, what have you built? How have you changed the world to make it a better place? You know, if you're only like claim to fame is, well, I moderated some policies. Okay. I don't know, man. Whenever I see a lot of these people in Congress, these people should be voted out. I see people that are there 20, 30 fucking terms. And then you ask yourself, what the hell is going on? Why do we keep revoting these people? Especially because you know that they are the ones that racked up all this debt. They're the ones who voted for all this dumb shit to get us to the point where right now we're dealing with inflation and all these other things. I mean, can you honestly say that the Inflation Reduction Act reduced inflation?
I mean, last time I checked, it printed another $2 trillion to give $1,200 to people again. Dude, I told you the story a while ago, right? I was in the car with my sister and she was asking me about inflation. And then she saw her portfolio. This is the day after Trump won. She saw her portfolio go up like 20 grand or something, most she's ever made in a day. And she's like, wait, it wasn't going up last year or in 2022 because of inflation? I was like, yeah. She was like, wait, why do we have inflation? I was like, because you got $1,200 from the stimulus from Biden in 2021. She's like, I don't want $1,200. I don't care about $1,200. I'm happy with my point. So it's like when people realize, wait a second, $1,200 made everything so much worse because it created so much inflation, and deregulation and less inflation actually gets stocks to go up and your investments go up. You have a totally different mind shift, but you have to be invested to even have that opportunity to experience that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're happy you got a free $1,200.
All I know is I don't mind people at any wealth level willing to serve in politics, as long as they look out for the best interests of everyone. Okay, that's what it is. If I see a policy that uniquely benefits them, I'll call that shit out, which is my right as a voter to do.
Yeah, Trump
right?
printed as well. It's not like Trump didn't print money. Both administrations.
Yeah. I'm all about all of us getting rich together. This country being at the top of the list for the next 100 years. You know, that's what I want.
I just hate hypocrisy, dude. The older I get and I see people that are very wealthy but are acting like they're not, or trying to virtue signal about their wealth to be able to, like, it's just the older, because it's so hard to build a business. It's so freaking hard. And when you do it, you should be rewarded. You should be, you're giving opportunities to people. And can it get excessive in terms of wealth disparity? Yes. But at the end of the day, building stuff is what makes things go forward. Not
here's the part that I hate the most. You go to like liberal places like California, New York. So a lot of the policies that come out, you would think that, oh, they're about anti-taxes, right? Like, I mean, not anti-taxes, anti-rich people. Yet all the rich people live there. Why? Because all the policies that they craft keep them wealthy. Yeah. They don't let other people get. Here's something that I think I brought this up a long time ago. In California, do you know that one of the laws that they have is that when you buy a home, your property price is what is frozen as the tax assessment price. So let's say you bought a home in 1985, and the price of your home was $300,000. You pay tax based on $300,000 forever.
Wait, that's a real law in California?
Yeah. If your property goes to $5 million, it doesn't matter. You pay taxes based on that $300,000.
That's a real. That's every house in California, not just Palisades.
Yeah.
So people could have bought homes in the 1970s for like $1 million that are worth $50 million today, and they're paying taxes on $1 million.
Correct.
I did not know.
And they won't allow more houses to be built. Why? Because it makes their property prices go higher and higher.
Wow.
So go ahead. Why aren't y'all paying more property taxes? Why aren't you,
That is, dude, this is as life-changing as when I found out yesterday at Vegas, you have to pay gambling tax. I didn't know you have to pay a W2G form. I didn't know that was a thing in Vegas. So I'm learning a lot today. Prop 13. Yeah. All of you guys in the chat are saying
if you think that this is bullshit, another thing to look at is that you can now buy another house and take the valuation from your old house as long as it was equivalent to the next one. And you can transfer it to a family member.
Well, it just goes to show, again, these are people that don't want policies to be out of their favor, right?
Right. But here's the thing. if you're voting for policies like that, right? Like not in my like they want to keep taxes at that level, but then at the same time they want more migrants to keep coming into California. Why? Because they own the businesses that basically they keep wages low, you know.
Okay, so speaking of that, let's get to this conversation, which is interesting. What is going to happen with migrant labor in the United States if we do get mass deportation? What do you think happens?
Okay, so first of all, I don't think we're going to get nearly the amount of migrant deportations. I think a lot of what we're likely to see is, number one, the criminal elements is definitely going to be taken out first, right? And I think the most effective way to do that is by just doing simple checkpoints. I think restricting movements, you basically a rule, finding. But here's the thing: if you're a known criminal, document you and get you out of this country. If you're undocumented, but you're like working and everything else, I don't really care. Like, go ahead, just keep doing what you're doing, So, and I think the Trump administration understands that. There's enough business leaders in his cabinet that understand that it's not very likely that they're going to be deporting 12 million people. It's going to be a very, very gradual process, right? The bigger thing that is likely to happen is this deterrence against trying to cross illegally now, where like all these new people to try to stop them from coming in. I think that's going to be the bigger thing.
So you think you think it's gonna be more about deterrence, less about like literally taking people and sending them out?
Yeah. So tell me, here's the thing: half the people are saying Kris is right, and other people are saying Kris is wrong. So what did I say? Tell me how Prop 13 doesn't affect property taxes.
You know what? We're going to use artificial intelligence because we live in the modern era. And we're just going to ask ChatGPT, baby. So
there you go.
Does Prop 13 in California mean that if you buy a house in 1980 at $300K and it's now worth $3 million, you still pay taxes on the 1980 price? Yes, Prop 13 California generally allows property tax. I'm sure there's some nuance to what Kris is saying, but in general.
Right there, look, under Prop 13, assessed value of the property can only increase by a maximum of 2 years, regardless of how much the market value goes up.
There you go, folks. That's AI.
Guys,
I'm sure there's probably some nuances to this, but like in general, it seems like that is what's the case. Dude, I didn't know that. That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you would be paying property taxes on $584,000, not $4 million, if you bought the home in 1980
for $300,000. Right now, look at the price that the house appreciated, but how much you're actually paying.
Yeah,
come on, and it's 1%. So basically, you went from paying $3,000 to $5,400, versus if you put it at $1 million, you're going to be paying $40,000.
Yeah, that's insane.
Come on, look at that huge thing. Yes, I get it. Everyone is in the chat. You're right. Your property taxes do go up, but it goes up such a small amount versus the actual price of the home, which has gone up significantly.
What do you think happens day one on the Trump administration? You think we get mass executive orders?
Say that again. Sorry.
What do you think happens day one? Do you think we get mass executive orders from Trump around crypto?
I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be different. It's gonna be something that we're just gonna have to keep our eye on. I don't know, man. I don't know.
How are your
My house is worth $550K. They're doing okay. They'll do well. Like I said, one of the things that I think Scott Bessent actually brought up, and it was actually very interesting, is there's this divide in people right now. And it really sucks. It's on one side, you've got people who own the assets, who are locked into like low interest rates and everything else. And then you have these younger people that are saddled up with all the debt. And so if you ask two different people, how is the economy? You get vastly different responses depending on who you're talking to. So if you're a 25-year-old fresh out of college, $250,000 in debt, having to rent an apartment for $3,200, $3,500 in a just basic living situation in a major city, and you're making entry-level wages, your life sucks, right? But if you're like 45, 50 years old, you own your own house, or you have like a really low interest rate mortgage, you've been working for like the last 20 years. So you've got all these wage increases, right? And you're in a, like a middle management role. Your life is way better now than what it was 5 years ago, because your cost of ownership of your home is so low for you versus someone who's brand new trying to break into the market. Same thing with the stock market. If you don't own shares or you don't own stock in companies, you're not enjoying the benefits of a 50% run in the stock market. I mean, you're lucky that you were able to basically, do really well in the market, and you've got a head start on a lot of people, but there's a lot of 26-year-olds that don't have the amount of money that you do or the opportunities that you do. And the stock market's the only thing that gave you that opportunity.
That I see it as a vehicle for freedom, because you don't need to have a big down payment on a home or gamble in crypto. You can actually just learn about financial derivatives and learn about the nature of markets. And I think more people are getting interested into it as well. I mean, we're seeing it in general. More people care about the markets. And I think the Trump administration is going to get even more, if the markets keep going up, to get excited about the idea of investing.
Yeah. Some of the comments are interesting. So one of them was like, you were stupid to go into $250,000 in debt loans. This analogy is shit. Bro, some people don't have that choice and they don't have that understanding. There's plenty of people that basically they're just happy to go to college. They're like, here, sign on a dotted line and you'll get to go to college. And people do it. And they got sold on the idea that if you go to college, you're going to be successful. If you don't go to college, you're going to stay poor forever.
I think there is a lot of nuance here, because there's two schools of camps. One school of camp says, okay, you're stupid if you get a gender study degree for 4 years, 250 grand, whatever. There are some people that, yes, they're educated enough to know that that's a dumb thing to do, but they still do it. There's a lot of other people that unfortunately are sold the story, even by their own family, and they go into the debt and they don't have a choice. They don't have the skills to become some entrepreneur. They don't have like some monetizable assets. Like, they just have to go to school. And then they're 18 years old. Most 18-year-old kids are stupid. And then you come out, you're 22, 23, and you didn't even realize how much debt you took. So I think the far majority of people just don't know what they're getting into.
I think the biggest challenge is we've incentivized. This is how government projects usually turn into shit. The incentive was more people should go to college into higher education. So that's why the government came in and said, we will basically insure student loans, right? So basically the government came in and said, we'll insure student loans so more people can go to college, especially if you're poor. So a lot of people started to go to college, which is a great thing, right? The challenge is now the colleges realize that all these loans are basically going to, so they kept raising the price of tuition.
And the government kept subsidizing it.
Right. And so now you've got all these people loaded up with debt. I mean, if you look at tuition inflation, it is one of the craziest things to look at. Like, if you go to NYU right now, NYU, New York City, tuition is $60,000 a year right now. It's just fucking nuts,
It is. And dude, I have a friend who went to NYU for 4 years, and they have a philosophy degree, which is great. But like, if you can't do anything with it,
look at that.
Is that worth it? Like,
bro, you're taking on 87 grand a year for 4 years. I mean, dude, you're starting at negative 400K. And not to mention, not only are you indebted, but you're going to be paying interest on this thing.
Yeah. And if you're not getting a very good degree like computer science or medicine or law, if you're getting if you're getting a business degree, what the fuck is a business degree? I have a business degree. There is no such thing as a business degree, dude. It's business. You don't get a degree in business. Like, paying $200,000 for that makes no sense. It's not real.
So let me comment on one thing right here. So one of the things, Kris's take on housing taxes is the same as taxing unrealized gains. You can't expect someone to pay way more in taxes because the market decided to go up. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's the level of hypocrisy that people are going under, where on one side, the incentive is keep getting your home price to go up because there's no incentive to keeping prices low, right? You are a homeowner. Let's say you bought a home, $500,000. Your incentive is, how do I get my house to be worth $1 million? Well, one of the ways is that you are going to vote for every single policy that's going to limit additional supply, which thereby causes housing shortages. right?
Kris,
So
Kris
now,
Kris is not advocating to pay more than that. Kris is showing the hypocrisy for the people like Bernie Sanders that like that their homes are,
I'm saying like
price high.
California should be incentivizing more home building, but they will never allow that to happen because the existing incumbents who already own property, they know that the value of their home, not that it'll go down, it just means that it probably won't appreciate as fast as it has been appreciating for like ever, So that's what I'm saying, that's the hypocritical portion of it. On one hand, you're saying, let's stop homelessness. Like California is spending $20 billion on fixing homelessness. But then what's their solution? Their solution is on the side of the road, building like these mini shacks. Like, come on.
I just think this country is turning around and these fires. Okay, so here's a question. Do you think California goes red after these fires?
It could. It could. I mean, places they have this knack for flipping when things get bad. Like we saw this in the 1980s in New York. 1980s, it was horrible. Okay, we had a lot of policies that were very like liberal policies in the 1980s, and then crime had gotten so bad in New York. Eventually, they had a ball buster like Giuliani come in and basically just go completely the other direction. And so New York voted Republican, like the city, because remember Giuliani was a Republican from 1991 or 2 all the way to when he left, and then Bloomberg came in power, and Bloomberg was a Republican until he went independent. And now we kind of like had such a good time. We had the shirt sleeves to shirt sleeve things happen where Bloomberg was so good that we ended up getting someone like de Blasio in there who was like a uber leftist. And now all the policies that are coming around are fucking up New York. And no, all these people are like, maybe I should be voting for the guy who's a tough on crime again. So it's a natural cycle. I feel like it's like a forest, right?
Well, this is why we have Trump, then Obama, then Bush. Like this is why it goes in swings, and maybe we get, I don't know, AOC in 4 years if people, it's just like
here's one thing that a lot of people won't say. California actually used to be one of the reddest states in the entire country, and Texas was one of the bluest states in the entire country. Yeah. That flipped, right? So I think that the world changes, right? And the thing is, like, policies usually change, and hopefully what happens is the parties change along with those policies to be a little bit more, relaxed on certain things. Like if you had asked a Democrat in the 1990s about illegal immigration, bro, they were so anti-immigration. Bill Clinton ran on anti-immigration. What's her name? Hillary was anti-illegal immigration, right? Obama was anti-illegal immigration. And then the narrative just kind of flipped. And now all of a sudden the Democrats are for illegal immigration, right? And believe it or not, one of the biggest proponents for immigration was Ronald Reagan in the 1990s.
People also forget Obama deported way more people than Trump did in his terms. I mean, I don't know. Well, in a week, we are going to see are you excited for the new administration in a week? Are you skeptical?
Yeah, I am. I'm actually kind of excited to see this whole thing with Hamas and Israel hopefully end, because I think that the amount of suffering that the situation has just been really, really bad in that region. And now I'm actually hearing that there's talk of, hopefully resolving that. That's a good thing to see. You don't want people to die on either side of the aisle, whether you're from the Gaza thing or the Israel side. I'm more on the Israel side when it comes to capturing Hamas, but I'm also on the side of like the Palestinians that are the innocent ones that are facing the tragedies of war, so you can be, okay with both of the things. And then you look at the whole thing with Ukraine and Russia. I mean, bro, these people are just throwing away lives, It's not good to see.
Especially because we know these things will have to come to a resolution eventually. And then you look back on it, which is the tragedy of war always. It's like, what did we do that for the past 4 years? Like, what was the point of it?
See, the one thing I'll tell you is a lot of times what happens is you could be ideologically aligned with one group, but at the same time be against the methodologies that they're using, right? So as an example, I'm ideologically aligned with Israel. I think Israel has the right to defend itself. But, you know, mass bombings is probably not the way that I would go about it. You know, it's one of those catch-22s where there's no winning side. Everyone's a loser, you know.
So, okay, last question then, and then we'll end out the stream here. We're doing 3 hours every day, folks. I think we're going at 12 p.m. every day. This was 3.5 hours, so we start early. Do you think it's a bull trap or no? Do you think the markets keep going up or we sell off?
I think the market might finally calm down a little bit. I think it just depends on what we're likely to see with regards to Trump policies, because he's made a lot of big promises on day one, and if he doesn't go through with them, the market might say, wait a second, maybe we're not in such a curious position. The one thing I'll give to Trump is that, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily give him a lot of credit for, he does listen to the people around him. Okay, and he does surround himself with really smart people. Yeah, he's a little bit brash in the way that he approaches things, but he's also not a stupid person that basically just ignores everyone and does his own thing. If there are people that he's put in charge, like putting Scott Bessent actually gave me a lot of relief, because I know that someone with a calm, cool head is going to be in the White House with him, you know.
By the way, speaking of Israel, officially ceasefire has been achieved. Israel is releasing 2,000.
Thank God.
Israel's releasing 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, and Palestine's releasing all the hostages.
Thank God. There you go. I mean, I don't know what the Trump admin did and how they negotiated that to get this resolved, but thank God. Thank God for both sides. Thank God for Gazans. Thanks God for the Israelis that are getting finally released and being able to go home. You know, like, and hopefully this is some kind of resolution that comes where it's a long-term resolution, you know, not just something. It's good. Thank God. I'm happy to see this, you know.
Thank God. It's a good thing. And I think Trump's going to get a lot of political capital from brokering this deal.
I don't even care if it's political capital. I'm just happy to see people fucking not dying anymore. Like, you hear these stories about people literally every day getting bombed. You got rockets coming across. That's
horrible. We've all seen the videos. They're all on X. We also like it's heart-wrenching stuff, dude. There's a little kids on both sides.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. And now I hope the next thing I hope is the Ukraine-Russia thing gets resolved. Like, that's another thing that we really hopefully can get past. I don't know how the Ukrainians and the Russians are going to, you know, reconcile everything that's been happening for the last 3 years, but I hope it comes to a resolution, man. You know. Yeah. I don't know. You're muted. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. All right, folks. I guess that is it. Kris, this is your X. I'll put it in the chat if you guys want to follow Kris. But Green Day, I'll be back on the market close, and we'll see how this ends up playing out later today.
All right. Later, dude.
Thank you, Kris. Appreciate you. Talk later.
Have a good one. Bye.
Yeah, guys, this is some pretty big news. I'm trying to digest the headline here, but it does look like there is a ceasefire officially. Multiple sources reporting there is a ceasefire and that there is an exchange of hostages and prisoners, and it is happening. It is officially happening. After 15 months of war, it is happening. Markets are not really giving up too much. I mean, there's a little bit of a decline in some of these names, even though they're still green. So the market's not crazy rallying off this, but actually there is a little bit of a move that's green here, just off that headline, potentially. Yeah, there's a little bit of green candle. Very small, but maybe that headline crossing is helping some of these names right now. Overall, more peace, more certainty is what the market likes on this. Wow, what a day, dude. Not only CPI, but if this... No, yeah, Wall Street Journal. I just got it. Yeah, this is definitely happening. Israel and Hamas have agreed to a ceasefire deal, opening a pathway to end the 15-month war. That is a pretty big day, dude. Not only CPI, not only the market, but something we've all been waiting for a very long time. January 15th, it is officially in. We have a ceasefire. Now, if we get Russia-Ukraine, Could we potentially be living in the next 4 years with some peace? Obviously, there's not going to be universal peace, but if you don't have major wars going on like Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Hamas, that is a bit more peaceful than the past 3 years. Arab mediators said they opened a pathway to end a 15-month war. The deal, which is expected to be implemented in 3 phases, will begin with an exchange of some of the hostages held in Gaza for Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. Negotiators, including Steve Witkoff and Trump's team, reconvened at midday local time. I wonder if the Biden administration is going to claim credit for this. I don't think that's going to be the case because Steve Witkoff, who is negotiating with the Arabs, is Trump's guy. So I imagine this is not the Biden administration getting this done. An agreement came after Hamas returned to the negotiations with Israel on Wednesday. The militant group had gone quite quiet a day earlier without explanation, stalling efforts. An Israeli official said Israel's cabinet was set to meet Thursday to discuss the deal if signed. Any deal would still need to be approved by Israel's security cabinet and government. All right. There we go. There we go. Thank goodness that is officially getting underway with the ceasefire. All right, folks. I'll be back at 3:45. I think we are doing this stream every day at this point for 3 hours, especially with earnings seasons coming up, dude. Like after hours and pre-market, it's going to be like 8-9 hours a day. There's got a lot of companies to take a look at. So January and February are going to be very busy months. Robinhood back above 46. I gotta go get my hood and wear my hoodie for the rest of the day, bro. This is just incredible. 10.26%. It deserves it. Market cap now officially $40 billion for Hood. Enterprise value $35 billion. And they have earnings coming up in about a month on February 12th. All right, not too bad. S&P 590, Google 195, Palantir 67.99, Bitcoin 99,000, Hood 46.11, Apple 237, SoFi 15.15, Tesla 418, trying to make its way back to 420. And you got Palantir there right above 68 at 68.03, up 3.22%. Not bad at all. Does Amit still say bye for 30 minutes? Dude, I haven't had coffee. I haven't eaten anything. I actually like it though. I kind of like waking up and not having anything until 12 p.m. I don't know. I just feel like now, like my stomach feels cleaner, all that stuff. So I guess the stream is an excuse for me to like not eat for the first 5 hours of the day, which I like. I like it way better than having breakfast. But I do got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. Word of the day is treacly.
Treacly.
Sentimental in a contrived or unrestrained way. The pop song style was too treacly and overdone for my taste. My friend always sends me the most treacly greeting cards. Okay, this is a weird word. I don't really like this word. Can we get a new word? This word is not a fun word. Treacly. Who the hell has ever used the word treacly? Dude, does anyone ever use that word treacly? This one seems cooler. All right, Merriam-Webster. This one seems cooler. I don't know how I'm going to say this. Have you guys used this word before? Treacly? Who's ever heard of this word? Hackneyed.
Hackneyed.
Something is considered hackneyed when it is not interesting, funny, etc. because of being used. I already know what the comments are going to be. Because of being used too often. In other words, it's neither fresh or original. The new crime drama's characters are shallow stereotypes who engage one another in hackneyed dialogue. I already know what the comments are going to be. I already know what the comments. I know the comments. Oh, admit all your jokes are hackneyed. I get it. I already know. But this word's better. So when something's not funny, next time I make a unfunny joke, you guys can use this word in the chat. Hackneyed. All right. That's it. 3:45. I'll be back. So far, market's holding up, not really giving back the gains. These are the days that remind us why we invest, because we go through all the BS of the red and emotional roller coasters for a day like this. We're not giving back the gains yet. We still got about 3 hours left. Let's see how the market reacts. But overall, very good day for the markets. Very good day for CPI. Very good day for humanity with Israel and Hamas coming to a ceasefire. And hopefully we can continue this momentum going into 2025. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you guys on the market close. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.